And we're live.
Start off my stream by getting this shave and a haircut.
Shave and haircut. There you go. That is huge.
Way too late. Lazy to do that. The puppers are drooling.
Uh-huh. Wow.
This is a... Hey, everybody. This is a pig ear. And the dogs are behind me with their ears.
Standing straight up. That's exactly what they look like.
Yeah, so get these at our farm and home store for the doggo puppers. We'll give everybody a minute to filter in here. This is a special...
Late morning edition.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Late morning edition of Rise and Grinds.
Yep. We had our... did our taxes for the year this morning, and so that's why we had to reschedule, but it works out. What's up? Yo, yeah, I hope everybody, I did post the new Parallax Effect review this morning. Hope everybody liked that. Brunch stream, yes. And because we're talking Coverstocks today, and it's past the point for most people drinking coffee. This is Boulevard is a local brewery in Kansas City, and so we're going to try out a few different ones from Boulevard and some extra ones that he brought too. So first one we're going to be trying out is the Space Camper IPA. I'm not a big fan of IPAs, but he really likes them. Now, if they're good IPAs, it's like IPAs are like sushi.
That is very
bad
true.
IPAs will taste awful, just like bad sushi is awful.
That is
you got
very
a pig? Okay.
IPAs, it's one of those.
So yeah, you
got to be picky on those.
Mm-hmm.
So there we are.
Mm-hmm.
That is a very good IPA. Thoughts?
Yep. Well, you get the flavor without the punch in the throat.
Yes, you do.
I only want the punch in the throat when I have EU IPA. Yeah, first.
Yeah,
I only like the punch in the throat when I have sours. I also have my, if you can see this, I'm going to screw the camera up. Kind of famous. My wife got me these glasses.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
In the, what was that? The guy bought the man box or the man crate. Says kind of famous. Yeah, kind of famous. Hello Kitty, second place.
It does say second place on it.
Yep, second place.
He's infamous for getting second place.
Yeah. So anyhow,
posters, that probably would have been better to show off.
EU IPA version.
But have a bottle open on the back.
Hey Jason, congratulations on your 300 last night, buddy. Jason Kratt shot 300 last night in Lawrence. Jonathan told me about that this morning. So, let's see, housekeeping notes. Oh, the Insight and the High Road Max also released today.
Oh, it is really stable.
So yeah, Tank 7's good. I almost got some Tank 7, but I tried. We've got a Firestone Walker Mind Haze IPA that's supposed to be really good. So give that a shot. And then of course, because it's a coffee stream, we do have a Nitro Cold Brew milk stout. So
it's very
try that a little bit later. Anyway. Thoughts on the High Road Max? I guess we can kind of talk about that because Coverstocks is the topic for today. We talked a little bit about Surface last week and mainly about cores and some
RGs. And
kind of lightly touched on some layouts, and we'll probably once we get through talking about all the components, then we'll start getting into some of the other stuff. The High Road Max is, if you watch my rated video, I just put that up yesterday. For that, but the High Road Max should be great on heavier volume patterns as they start to break down. It's probably not a game 1 or 2 ball, but if you have heavier volume, longer patterns and the track forces you left, but then sometimes you don't have the teeth to dig through the stuff, and so the ball kind of spins and pukes. This one should help you either stay a little bit further right, or the core will help you, because it's higher RG, it'll help you get through the front parts of the lane without wanting to wind up as quick as other stronger balls, but it still has that stronger cover stock to give you the extra teeth to kind of dig through. So it's a nice little blend instead of going strong on top of strong.
It definitely looks like the strongest high road that they've made yet.
Yeah. And I think your buddy Brad will throw it quite a bit because he likes, Brad Miller likes all things high road. He throws the high road Pearl quite a bit, the all road quite a bit.
X.
Yeah, High Road X. So he likes the high road. So I think that if next time Brad's on the show, I think there's a good chance you'll see him throwing the green ball.
If you have flow, I'm sure he'll be throwing it at TOC at some point if he makes it in, because he's got to go through the gear.
When you decide to tune the surface of a shiny pearl ball just to make it read a couple feet sooner, just knock the shine off of 4,000 or rougher. I have a tournament tomorrow, been snowed in. Yeah, just and that's a lot. That's what a lot of people do when they get pearl balls, and I've already gotten a couple comments about that on the effect. Is that people are like, well, it looked a little over under, so why don't you hit it with some surface? Most people live and die on the box surface.
Yep.
Most people will say, well, this ball sucks or this ball whatever. And it's like, well, have you tried changing the surface on it? And they kind of blink at you, and there's a lot of people that throw it for 2 or 3 games out of the box. If they don't like it, they're done with it.
How do you feel about changing surfaces personally?
I'm one of those people that is a fan of factory shine, and if it doesn't look good with the factory shine on it, it's going to look worse when I add surface on both sides of the lane, really. What I like to do most of the time is get some games on it.
Yep.
My idle synergy was kind of flippy out of the box, but just as use will shine fill balls up,
yep,
it'll also kind of break in shinier Coverstocks too, because my synergy cover isn't nearly as glossy as it was when I got it.
So you're definitely a big fan of lane shine then.
Yeah, I'm the biggest. I don't necessarily like changing surface, or when you polish a ball, it kind of plugs the pores on the ball too, and so it just feels like something a little artificial to me. And bowling balls will all end up at the same surface eventually anyway.
Yeah. Because
through use, when you throw it, and it's not really lane shine, it's all the, it hits the pins, and then it hits in the back, and then it rolls on the track, and then it's put back up on the return by wheels and everything. And so it's more a kind of an aggregate effect of just the ball rolling down the lane and coming back and going back and coming back repeatedly. And so I tend to like to get use on a ball more than actually change the surface. But a lot of the time, if something is too glossy and you want to speed the process up, hit it with like 3,000 or something and then let it shine back up.
I personally, anytime I get anything shiny right out of the box, even when we just drill it, I will always hit it with like 3,000 or something just to take that shine off.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, a lot of people will just automatically reset the surface of whatever ball because they know what kind of zone they like. It's the same thing as layouts. A lot of people just use 1 or 2 layouts. Yep. They kind of feel comfortable with something, and that gives them a good baseline to start with. And so people that don't like the factory shine normally take it to 3,000 or 4,000, and that's how they judge, or that's how they can best tell what a ball is going to do for them. Because if 3,000 is a popular surface for them and a ball doesn't look good with 3,000 on it, it's probably not going to match up to them, period.
Yeah.
So,
and 3,000 is not much anyways. I mean, you got to really hit on it just to get it to doing, unless you put it on a spinner, it'll make it look a little better.
First game I throw my UFO, generally throw it 6 or 7. My UFO works great the first game, ends up being way too much too fast, so I switch my synergy. You think the UC2 could fit that gap? Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the synergy fits pretty perfectly in between.
The UC2 looks pretty good.
Yeah. Yep, UC2 would split that gap pretty good.
3,000 plus lane shine on top of factory polish is a trick I use a ton. I don't tend to like factory shine coming out of Utah personally.
Yeah, most stuff like that is gonna wiggle for James because it's just his ball speed's fast enough that the ball's just gonna spin for days. And
yeah, he does have like a 20-mile-an-hour speed.
Not pick up, and that's also a good thing. And we are going to have a surface episode on one of these today. We're just going to more focus in on cover stocks and cover designators. I know this can be something fun for James because we all know what he thinks about cover designators.
I am speed.
It's James in there.
I even have. What did I do with mine? It's somewhere. I probably put it in there.
Probably on the kitchen table in there.
Yeah, I think it's on the kitchen table.
All right.
I have a dry erase board.
He comes prepared today.
Mm-hmm. Because we are going to need a little bit of help with this, I think. So, oh yeah, no problem, JR.
Look,
Mom, I'm going fast.
There's another one upstairs. I'll go
No, it was literally right here because
it's literally not there right now.
Well, I know. No, here it is. I found it.
And here we go, awkwardly left by myself again.
Yeah.
It happens a lot.
Just for a few seconds.
I'll just enjoy this IPA here.
Yeah, that is a pretty good IPA.
It is very good. Space Camper IPA from Boulevard. Try it
Boulevard,
out
yeah.
if you're like IPAs at all. It's very
Well,
good.
since my butt was already up there, you're getting another one.
Ooh, pink.
Okay, it's pink. Might be more fun.
You have both. As long as it shows up well.
Yeah, it should show up just fine.
Okay.
He's gonna put
Okay.
his art skills to use here.
Yeah,
Luckily,
I
you
can't
can
even
read
draw.
his handwriting.
I can't even draw stick people.
He
Yeah,
can
I've got
write.
pretty good writing, but
I can't. I'm a terrible artist.
okay. So, oh, anyway, we were talking about.
Coverstocks.
Yeah.
That comes from.
Coverstocks, Lane Shine, Service. Tried the purple tank yet? I have not. Not a big urethane guy. It's really, really situational for me.
Swiss trios.
But I will drill one eventually. The Swiss Trios.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
Swiss
that's-
Trios.
that's
I will throw one in
7 months off. So.
Yeah. I'll probably have one sitting around drilled and throw it in 7 months from now.
I am actually reading an oil pattern is another one of these episodes that we're going to do. I'm going to have several of these
That'll be a fun one.
because I've tried. People have asked me, "Can you make this video or can you make that video?" And there's so much that goes into it that I can't. I just can't make a 10-minute video on it. And if somebody's just watching a video and they can't ask questions or we can't have interactions, and I can't think of everything to put in a video too, so this is a whole lot easier to do this type of thing. And I'm not going to get a whole bunch into the. I would have to have Chad McLean or somebody on, Alex Hoskins on to talk about the in-depth on the cover stocks. I'm going to give you a general overall view or what kind of the basics as we hear the dogs munch on their
He's going to
crunchy,
town.
yeah, crunchy
You know,
crunch.
it's just
And Aspen's just guarding hers.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
staring.
Yeah.
Ears-
She's
straight
turned.
up.
Yeah, she's turned into the regular Barney Fife out in the backyard. We call her Aspensaurus because right on the back of her neck, it stands straight up and it looks like a Stegosaurus. It's crazy. Yeah, it's just right in the middle of her back. It stands straight up, and so she likes to go out and patrol the backyard. And
Oh yeah.
but also like Barney Fife. I don't remember. Most of you probably don't even remember
Old Barney.
Andy Griffith.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, always tough until there was a problem, and then it's the first one to get scared.
I mean, everybody's whistled the
And
theme song
run
tune
off,
in their
yeah.
head many times in their life. Dark blue oil. Use the fast pitch a ton. I think it's more useful than black. I only threw the pitch black, but I can't throw that one anymore. So.
Yeah, I actually use the fast. That's the one that I default to when it comes time for urethane. That's the first one I'll start with.
That is the one you
Actually.
actually crushed them with at Swiss Trios.
So yeah, the fast pitch was amazing after I struggled for 3 games. Anyway, cover stocks. So everybody knows solid, pearl, and hybrid. And generally speaking, the first place to start is that pearls are usually, or at least the kind of rule of thumb for most people is when they think pearl hybrid solid, they think pearl is going to be the longest and the flippiest, solid is going to be the earliest and the smoothest, and the hybrid is going to be a blend of the two, which is generally true when you're talking the same cover stock formula. And again, I'm not going to get into formulas and chemistry and mechanical friction versus chemical friction and whatever else. That would be something for the tech minds, and they don't even put this stuff out. They kind of give you general basic descriptions because people can't even, it's a whole lot for people to follow when it comes to the cores are a whole lot easier because the numbers are there. So no matter what they name the core, what kind of marketing, whatever they put out for the core, the numbers will always be there. And from a mathematical perspective, a lot of that stuff does translate. There's some extra things that come into it, like I said, about RG planes and track migration and all that other kind of stuff. But the basics are you can generally track, okay, lower RG ball is going to roll earlier, higher RG ball is going to lope a little bit more, it's going to go a little bit longer down the lane, and more differential equals more flare.
Yep.
Asymmetric is just kind of added torque on top of that. And so that's pretty easy to understand. Luckily enough, and I think Motive does a pretty good job of this too, is instead of branding, every time they tweak the formula a little bit, instead of calling it something completely different to act like it's all brand new all the time, And maybe Storm does this to a fault with something like R2S that they seem to put on everything for a decade and a half. But at the same time, people don't really want new so much as they want fresh. So because people like familiarity, that's why movie sequels work so well. If there's a good movie, let's make a sequel, and you're gonna make a crap load of money. That's why they're making a million more Avatar movies, and why they're putting out 2 Star Wars movies every year. And
sounds like Star Wars is gonna make another comeback too. Yeah, I mean, unless you're on the Brunswick side, where you're releasing the ball every week.
Yeah, and then I can't even keep up with stuff we're doing right now. But most of the time, we only have, especially on the roto side, there's only 3 covers that they use. They use VTC on the lower end stuff. They use E-Trax on kind of the middle end stuff and some of the higher end stuff, and then they use Microtrax. And they introduced SureTrax on the Wild Streak, but we haven't seen anything else with that yet, and that's just kind of a one-off at the moment. But those are easy to keep track of, so that you can. So it makes it real easy for me on videos to say, okay, so when a UFO comes out, well, it's the idle cover stock with this new core, and once you kind of put those two together, it's like, well, idle cover stock, stronger core. You already get something in your mind thinking, okay, well, I have a good idea what this is going to be like. You never know exactly what it's going to be like before you actually drill it and throw it.
Yeah.
But you have a good idea what it's going to be, and I think Motive does kind of the same thing.
Yep.
You know, the gear core shows up a lot, and
Predator core, which is in all the Jackals.
Turmoil, something or other for the covers, and Coercion, I think.
Coercion is which the Coercion I believe is in the Supra, I believe. May have just told you wrong.
And then they kind of tweak it, but at least you get the basic idea. And with what Storm has done with R3S and like R4S that we have on the Insight, you think, okay, well, Reactor is the original. That's on the Electrifies, and then R2 is kind of an evolution of that, and then R3 is a stronger version, R4 is a stronger version, and then we have NRG, which has been around which are the nano covers, so you kind of know what you're getting into with that. And they've had a few new ones, the GI series, 17, 18, 19, 20, so on and so forth. And then Spec, which has been pretty polarizing, and then the new Traction X7 cover that they have. But for the most part,
what was on the Rubicon?
E-Trax Solid.
E-Trax Solid.
So yeah, everything on the roto side is even locked down a little bit more. They've kind of branched out a little bit more with Storm, but most of the time when they put R2S or R3S on something, you know what you're getting. And in kind of an oddity, if you watch the Parallax and let me see here. A lot of the, I guess that the pearl additives actually make the ball a little bit more aggressive or something, which is kind of backwards. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but I've heard people say that the pearl additive actually makes the ball a little bit more aggressive. But then once they shine it up, then it gives it that kind of responsive.
I've also heard things about ball color makes a difference too.
Yeah, ball color does make a difference. I remember with the original Ebonite Mission that ended up being red, they tried out 21 different colors, and that red is what reacted the best. And some colors will hook a little bit more, some will hook a little bit less, some will be a little bit earlier, some will be a little bit smoother.
Big reason why on the purple tank that Motive put in that urethane, that they put purple on it. I mean, that's why that hammer hooks so much. So that purple does something on urethane balls, I guess. Just from what I've heard.
Again, we're not going to talk too much chemistry, but that is actually a thing. Different colors do affect ball motion, and that does kind of go into the overall.
I don't think you showed off your shirt. Go ahead and show that.
Oh, yeah. I never argue. I just explain why I'm right.
I got him that.
Yeah.
I like that. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Sorry, I saw that. And you usually show off your shirt.
Yeah,
so
I forgot about it.
Yeah.
So yes, I actually have an extra. She found me an extra Wild Streak. So, yep, the UC2 is purple. Heckers, yeah, it is.
It's actually a really pretty purple. Like, it's so deep.
The UC2, yeah, it looks really good.
Actually really pretty.
Angel actually likes something purple.
Yeah.
Yeah. Write that down the record book.
Yeah. Now, in some
Exactly.
cases, I will argue when watching the parallax versus the parallax effect, the parallax is smoother, which you expect,
Yep.
but it's also weaker than the parallax effect. So several times I've found that Storm's pearls actually are more aggressive than their hybrid versions. Now, when it comes to something like the High Road Pearl, the High Road is actually more aggressive than the High Road Pearl. The IQ Fusion was more aggressive than the Gold Ball. But I found it the opposite way around with the Intense and the Intense Fire, for example, the Intense having R3S Pearl and the Fire having the hybrid. The Intense gave me that same parallax effect feeling where it was very early and chuggy and still, very responsive. But I found the Intense Fire to be the cleaner of the two, and I think the Parallax is the cleaner between the
I can agree with that. I threw them both.
Effect.
I had them both and threw them both at one point, and I could see that.
But
because you threw those right hand.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
A lot of people will say, okay, well, I bought this new cheap ball and it hooks more on my regular league shots than the big hooking balls do, but it's just like Amanda and her UFO. If we got onto where her afterburner hooks more than her UFO at league, but if we got onto heavier oiled conditions and you take the UFO back to factory, all of a sudden it's going to dig through and it's actually going to hook.
Yep.
I'm not going to talk about surface too much, but
that's a big thing that a lot of people misunderstand too. Is they buy these lower end balls and they think, well, this thing really hooks. It wasn't supposed to hook. Well, they newsflash, they do hook.
Yeah. Lower end balls are designed to act like higher end balls on lower volume conditions.
Lower volume drive.
The idea is to make, when they make stronger balls, you actually need more oil. It's just like when they make a driver, you need more length out of the hole for that driver to ever come into play. And a lot of people take bowling balls like they're just bowling balls.
Yep.
And a lot of this, I think, is confusion in or about Coverstocks, because when you have something like the Astrophysics, it's got a strong core, but it's got a medium strength. It's got that R2S Pearl on it, which is the High Road Pearl Coverstock.
Yep.
And so they think, well, it's an ASIM Pearl. It should hook a lot and it should flip a lot. And it really doesn't. It's very playable on regular league shots. And that was a favorite of yours before you made the switch. But Coverstocks are something that are a lot tougher to understand unless you get into or pay attention to what Coverstocks are on what balls, and sometimes without having a cover strength chart, it's hard to understand exactly where they kind of all fit, but most of it is experience. You kind of have to figure that out. And then if you, listen to literature that the companies put out, then that will help you kind of figure things out. But I really appreciate the way that Storm has done it, just because it makes it easier to keep track of. So when they release something that's, again, you kind of know exactly what you're getting when they announce something like a Phase 3 that has, it's the Phase 2 core and R3S hybrid. Well, we already know, I've had R3S hybrid on a couple balls, had the Phase core on a couple balls. You put those together and you kind of get a good idea in your head what you're looking at.
Yep.
Now, the actual Coverstock strength rankings they make it very interesting, because generally something that hooks more shapes less. Yes. That's the easiest way to look at it, and part of that is due to the surface. But when you take something like NRG, and this is what I got the board out for, NRG is built to withstand lane shine a little bit more because it's microscopically textured, but the nanoparticles actually create several different, and this was something that they really put out on, they really talked about with the virtual gravity nano. But instead of just kind of having surface and you create kind of the peaks and valleys in there, that's what something with surface looks like microscopically. When you sand or scuff something up, it's supposed to be basically like tire treads. So when you have something like that, Nano or NRG makes several different little smaller, it looks more like an EKG machine or something like that, where you have several different peaks and valleys. And so as the ball gets lane shined, or as with use, these get flattened out, you flatten off the peaks. Well, as you flatten off the top peaks, you start to expose some of the lower peaks. And so it kind of reinforces each other as the ball lane shines.
Which hence is the reason why they kind of smooth out and kind of be right.
Yeah.
Smooth out and be
So-
a little more predictable and not so punchy, I guess.
Yeah. Now something else, if you look at, I'm going to put my spikies back up here. And
That's a bad EKG.
Yeah.
Uh,
All right. So this is what we're going to see out of textured or sanded surface balls. This is more what we're going to see out of, which is not, again, that's artist renderings are not accurate. But this is it's a concept. It's what we're trying to get at is the concept. Balls with surface or solid balls that most of the time come with surface out of the factory. Bear dog, you're crazy. Unibel, you're gonna have to move.
Come here.
Big pup coming through.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That EKG, you're not. Yeah, that ball's dead.
You're not gonna make it.
Anyway, so this is going to be more the surface texture of a sanded ball, and this is going to be more the surface texture of a pearl ball. Now, with more aggressive pearl balls that have stronger formula covers, that's going to change a little bit. The friction, they mess with the friction properties and other things would make some pearl balls hook more than other pearl balls. But when you have something like this is designed to cut through the oil on the lane. But if you'll notice too, the ball is only contacting the lane here, 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 and here. So it's only actually contacting the lane. Fun fact, actually, the ball never touches the lane. And we talked about that last week. It rides on a bed of negatively charged ions. Anyway, I digress. So when you have a ball that's sanded, that has surface on it, it's only touching the lane at these peaks. These valleys are for the oil to kind of go into, and this is kind of how tire treads work. This is, a lot of people are driving in snow right now. If you have snow tires on your car, you'll notice that they have really big treads that allows the peaks to be able to cut through the snow, and the valleys allow somewhere for the snow to go. Now, when you have a smoother surface like this, you're not going to get you're going to hydroplane. You're not going to get any traction anywhere through any kind of anything. And so when a sanded or solid ball that has surface on it gets to the end of the lane, nothing has really changed here with the ball's relationship with the lane, because although there's no oil to dig through anymore, you still have a very limited amount of surface area that's actually in contact with the lane. Now, when it comes to shiny balls, they're not going to get any traction through the oil at all. I mean, there's just nothing there to work with. It's going to hydroplane, but when it gets to the end of the pattern and sniffs that dry, it has all this surface area in contact with the lane and therefore can take off. So that's a little mental thing as far as...
Hence a little bit of skip flip.
Yeah, a little bit of...
Don't get Shim started on the cover. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
There he comes.
No, well, the cover designator, so this is something, number one, important to remember with surfaces. So just because, again, we've talked about this is especially important because when you have something like an Omega Crux, it has a very strong cover stock. It's pearl cover stock, but it also comes sanded out of the factory. And so we need a refill.
Okay, what do you want?
Surprise us. How about that?
Yeah, don't get the coffee one out yet. Get the Mind Haze. Yeah, I'm interested.
Oh, that was an IPA, right?
Yeah.
All right. NASCAR tire is a good example. Yes, actually it is.
No, it's an IPA. You can just
I'll have to work with this here.
Yeah.
Give me your cup and I'll take
That's
care
right.
of it.
You get fresh cups out.
I'm gonna move out of the screen here for a moment. Yeah, IPAs it should be a close.
Yeah. But when it comes to when somebody hears, they will see, oh, okay, well, there's the Omega Crux and it's Pearl Ball. And as soon as they see Pearl Ball, they instantly stop and think, okay, well, this is Pearl. And then they equate it to something like a High Road Pearl or a Trend or something else. And it's just not anywhere remotely close. Not anywhere close to anything because of several different factors that go into it. Now, part of that is how much do you really know exactly how much stronger GI-20 Pearl is than R2S Pearl? Not really. It's quite a bit stronger, and it's easy to see it, especially as you throw more bowling balls. You can see, okay, well, this is this strong and this is that strong. But at the same time, there could be kind of a flipping of, well, my High Road Pearl covers more boards at league than my Omega Crux does. So therefore, R2S Pearl is stronger than GI20 Pearl, which people mistakenly read back end as hook. The amount of boards a ball covers has nothing to do with hook, and it's actually the opposite of hook. Like I just showed, the spikes or the peaks and valleys in the cover stock, that is hook. The flat kind of smoother surface is back end. And so when you get a lot of hook, the ball hits the end of the oil pattern and you don't really see a whole lot.
Yep.
I mean, so bigger hooking, more sanded balls, you're not going to see a whole lot of back end motion out of, because that's not what they're designed to do. They're designed for heavier conditions to actually dig through all that oil and get you traction, where something like a High Road Pearl is not going to.
Right.
A High Road Pearl is more built, something like a Supra or Trident Nemesis, something like that is more built for a house pattern.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. 100% agree with that.
Where something like maybe your Jackal Ghost, for heavier house patterns, or you can polish it and get the kind of the shape delta whenever you need that. Oh.
And the Ghost lane shined really quick too. That was another one that lane shined fast. Like, it was really quick. It's
Give me the can there.
going to town. Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Show that one off
Yeah,
there.
somebody asked about opinions on the Mind Haze.
Yeah,
That's-
Firestone Mind Haze IPA. It's a little bit less IPA than typical IPAs. It's not quite as, and I wouldn't call that Space Camper bitter,
No, not
because
at all.
it doesn't. It
Yeah.
finishes very smooth. You get the hoppy taste.
So does this one.
Yeah.
This one's pretty smooth
Yeah.
too. It doesn't punch you in the throat. How about that?
This is a more drinkable IPA. This would
Yeah.
be more like an entry level IPA
Yeah.
or something to kind of, if you don't really like IPAs, I would recommend trying this one, because it gives you a little bit of that flavor without the overabundance or
It's pretty good.
overpowering. So yeah, it's
2 winners right there.
No thanks.
it's on the lighter side of a
Angel
lighter side of an
passes. She
IPA.
says she's good on that.
I just make faces. He only makes me try stuff, so I make faces.
But anyway, this is definitely
Oh,
very. I'll be careful with.
sanded or solid color stock and polished with bronze.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's,
Well, yeah, and that's the way that all this, the problem herein lies that there's a lot of different things going on all at the same time. So you have to, number one, recognize what the cores part of the equation is, which is very easy to, again, when you have something like a High Road Pearl next to an IQ Emerald, next to a Trend, next to an Astrophysics, then you can see, because they all have the same cover stock, so you can see what differences the cores have. And this is something that's interesting with the High Roads too. And the High Road Max actually taught us a little bit more, and James can talk about this too. It's taught us a little bit more about the NEX cover stock,
right.
because we've seen it on the Axiom, which is a big core, what people normally call a big core. It's a strong symmetrical core. And then we had it on the Proton Physics, which was an asymmetric core. And we already know about the atomic core, which is in the physics line from the other two physics balls. And we knew that NEX was strong, but when you put it on something like a High Road core that is much, much weaker, we find out how dominant of a reaction, or how much more the cover stock has to do with the ball reaction on the High Road core than we really previously knew, because all strong balls are going to be strong.
Yep.
The Axiom is a little bit more responsive than something like an Idol. It's kind of like the Idol meets the Idol Pro. It's got the hook of the Idol and kind of the friction response of the Idol Pro. And then you see it on the Proton Physics, but when you have something that hooks that much, it's hard to really read exactly what that ball is doing.
Yep.
But when we see that cover on the High Road Max, and it still gives you crazy Axiom vibes, even though the core is totally different, then that lets you know how dominant of a cover, or how dominant of a reaction, or how dominant that part of the equation is when it comes to ball reaction. Spec is very much the same way too. The Crux Prime is early and smooth. The Pro Motion's early and smooth. Gravity Evolves early and very, very smooth.
Yep. Yeah.
Being the fact that the
Non-responsive, some might say.
I've never personally thrown it, so.
being the fact that the cover is so dominant, then what you expect it to do is you take it to other centers or
Yeah.
like other patterns.
That ball just became a glorified for her. A glorified.
I really hope that Chad's not lurking today. This would be a bad day for Chad to lurk. Because, well, there's, again, this is so much, I'm trying to explain it as basically as possible, but even the basics are very complicated. Especially if it's not something that you do all the time. And even though it is something that James and I and, Angel has kind of worked into all the time, it's still something that there is a learning curve when you're not the one actually making the ball and testing it as extensively as those guys have. When they come out with a ball, they've tested it on several different cores of several different
I'm sure.
Several different surfaces, and so they have a very intimate knowledge of everything that goes into the ball. When they put it out, they're doing their best to help us kind of interpret and track all that, but we have infinitely less experience with all of this stuff than they do.
So apparently it'll look good somehow, some way.
Yeah. But they design balls for very specific purposes too, and so they need to vet everything and say, okay, well, this is what we're going for. How are we actually going to get there? And I think that they did kind of like the idea of the all-road. Yep. Brad likes it quite a bit, and James has learned to love his.
Isn't that the one that he got for? Wasn't that the New Year?
The drilling stream.
Yeah, the drilling stream. Yeah. Here you go, Luke. I know you'll like this question. If you could put any storm core and cover stock combo together, what would it be?
R3S hybrid, IQ core.
Boom.
The IQ Ruby or IQ Tour Fury.
And off she goes.
Jeez. Her dad's in the hospital.
Oh.
He's taking a lot of medication, not eating a lot, so I think he got an ulcer or something.
Gotcha.
I think he's okay though.
Good. I knew you'd like that question though.
Yeah. So
do you think they're ever going to run out of bowling ball names? Have you ever thought about that? All the bowling balls that come out over the years.
Oh, yeah.
When are they ever going to be like, what do we do?
And I'm going to say, how do we keep names?
Like you just look at it and you're like, we're going to slap that one on. That one's going to be black chair.
Yeah. So a lot of those, all balls don't look the same. Yes, the cover, there's a bunch of stuff, and there's also, when it comes to hybrid covers, they do on the 3-color ones, they do mix and match whether they have 2 pearls or 2 parts pearl or 2 parts solid. And so you can have, like, I think the Physics and Supersonic were actually different mixtures. One of them had 2 parts solid and 1 part pearl, and the other one had 2 parts pearl and 1 part solid.
Right.
So they can kind of play around with that when it's something like the MVP, which is 2-color. It's just half and half.
Mm-hmm.
So surface plays into it a lot, but when you have something that's when you have consistent surfaces, like all the R2S pearl balls here recently came polished. So again, you can find out the R2S pearl cover is noticeable, but all those balls act quite a bit different. The Emerald's quite a bit earlier and smoother than the rest of them. The Astrophysics has a bunch of pop. The High Road Pearl has even more pop. So I think that there's more variance between all those and the trend than there is between the High Road Max and the Axiom and the Proton Physics. When you throw those three, you know that you're throwing, you absolutely know that you're throwing an NEX ball. NRG covers are very, very similar to something like the Physics and the IQ Tornado Pearl. And that's why I always talk about how much I like NRG, because it's always a very RST. It looks and feels very familiar, but there can be a whole lot of different variables when it comes to the R2S cover stock.
Mm-hmm.
So
there's several I wish I could throw that they've released recently, but it's like I was always a big idle guy. Always a big idle guy. The RST looks pretty good.
Yeah. Yep, I'd love a shock and a recoil, but
I can't even get you recoil anymore.
Life sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So
friction response is a huge part of managing ball motion. Later in a block is where a lot of people struggle. So what coverage do you tend to gravitate towards in those situations? Yes. Friction response, and that kind of segues right into what I was going to talk about, is that once you get into Coverstock strengths, the friction responses change, and that is going to be the biggest visible part of ball reaction, which people see and equate to hook. You know, when they want something or they say, I want something that hooks, they most of the time mean they want something that back ends. So while you can take something that the Omega Crux, again, is a pearl, the High Road Pearl is actually a pearl. They act nothing alike. And actually, the Omega Crux as a pearl is quite a bit earlier and smoother than something like the Rubicon, which is a solid.
Yep.
So, number one, cover designators don't matter. So when somebody said, well, somebody told me I needed a pearl ball in my arsenal, it's like, well, there's a million different pearl balls and a million different variations and whatever else. And you can't just look at Omega Crux and say, oh, it's a pearl, so it's going to be long and flippy. No. So either way you're cutting at it. Oh, he's answering questions.
Yeah, he's answering a question up there.
Anyhow.
Yes. What?
Somebody said the R3S hybrid and the atomic core put together.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sweet too.
What?
Yeah, it'd basically be the phase 3 cover on the atomic core. I would be down for that.
Love my cut polish. Love my ghost polish back when our back ends were way softer. I'm actually going to order another ghost and polish it, actually. Yes, I can just throw the Jackal Flash, but I still think it will look a lot different shape-wise than the Flash, because the Flash is pretty round.
So, friction responses are something that is what really makes a ball look like it's hooking or not hooking. Yeah. Like something like the Parallax hooks a lot, but it doesn't actually back end a lot, and that's why it gives James problems, because when he tries to, he throws the ball and it doesn't hook, and then he tries to move right and it's taking off at 30 feet. It doesn't, the friction response doesn't really match up to his game. He needs something that's a lot firmer, that gives him a lot more predictability, and something that does back end harder is actually smoother for him than it is for somebody else. That's why when you watch our videos, most of the time stuff looks snappier for Angel than it does for me, because she gives the ball more time to kind of go through the phases of ball motion and actually turn over. So
then I release the ball speed a lot, right? So.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other component that comes into it. Just because something is, and James and I, this is something that we've talked about a lot, is that our ball choices and what we like to see out of ball motion are completely different, because most of the time he uses stuff that I don't use or can't use very often. Just because he's got the higher speed to get the ball down the lane further and blend it out a little bit more, because when the ball's going 20 miles an hour versus going 16 or 17, it gets to the pins a whole lot faster. And even though he's revving it up, it takes longer for the ball to go through its stages of ball motion. And so something that's going to be flippier for me is going to be a whole lot smoother for him. And beyond that, because I like smooth stuff, most of the stuff I like, he's not even going to be able to throw, because it's just never going to, it's just going to spin. And it's never really going to do anything.
Ball speed is a huge component on ball reaction in general.
Yeah. So the Parallax for me is very smooth as well, but it fits my game a whole lot better because I have the physical specs that kind of match up with what that ball naturally does. And so a lot of this stuff is experience too, and finding out, because the first time that James came out here for a tournament, I'm trying to tell him, okay, well, this is what Olathe East does, and this is how whatever does. And it didn't even have the same read. And so we kind of, now when we're talking about stuff, I don't actually tell him what to do. I say, well, these are kind of the characteristics. You're going to figure out how to apply that to what you do. I'm not going to offer you anything beyond, usually this house is pretty high friction. So whatever you do for high friction, I'm not going to suggest anything. So
I will.
Well, now we kind of, we've talked a whole lot more. And so we kind of understand how each other operates. But when you,
Go ahead. Finish what you're saying.
Okay. I'm going to get right back into something
else.
So
Here was a good cover question. I find myself from Team Dub, playing around with the under grit before polishing. Ever play around with that or suggestions?
Yes, under grit is also something that's very, very helpful. If you take something that's 1,000 grit, if you take it down to 1,000 and then you polish it, you're going to end up with a different surface than if you take it to 3,000 and then polish it.
Oh yeah.
So if you polish it, you apply a little coat of shine on top of something that still has some kind of undergrit or some traction underneath it. Whereas if you start with 3,000 grit, it's a whole lot smoother surface that you're then just kind of knocking the peaks off of more than anything. So
bowling is and always will be the friction.
Okay. So I've always wondered why Stu polished his Axiom and then sanded his Axiom Pearl. Any ideas on why he does this? Part of it is that the Axiom is a very strong ball. It's a very early ball. And so when you polish that, you still get those overall characteristics, but you change the shape a little bit. You get the ball to push a little bit further and shape a little bit more on the back end. So you actually are moving. The front to back hook is when you're just moving the ball motion to where you want to see it at. If you like the way that the ball generally reacts, then you can play with the surfaces to kind of, I lost the word. To kind of adjust where exactly you want the ball to hook. And if you want them, it's like, okay, well, this ball looks good, but it's just a little bit too slow, or it's a little bit too early. Then you put a little bit of polish on it, gets down the lane a little bit more, makes it pop a little bit more, and then you're in business. Something like the Axiom Pearl, a lot of the times the factory gloss is really, really glossy. And so it's very, very responsive. So you're not going to see any motion in the oil at all. And you're going to see a lot of flip down lane. And it's like, well, I like the general shape of the ball. It's just too inconsistent. So when you sand it, you take the surface off of it. You help to blend that out a little bit more. So it gets a little bit more traction in the oil and it makes it a little bit slower on the dry. But it's just to kind of adjust and fine tune something that is close.
Because a lot of times with all that gloss, you'll fight over under a little bit with it. That's why, for me, for example, that's why anything that's really, really glossy / shiny, I always hit it with 3,000 or 4,000 just to get that shine off because it helps. Or else if I leave that shine on there, it'll give me fits.
Especially on house shots that are normally pretty over under. If you have something where most house shots, there's a bunch of dry on the right side of the lane, I'll draw a typical.
Exactly, Malcolm. That's to the T. Before I even throw a shot with it, I will hit it with 3,000 or 4,000. Just depends on what ball it is.
Okay.
3,000 generally, though. Yes.
All right. This is general. This is kind of what a house shot looks like most of the time. These are the gutters on either side, and this is the oil volume. So on the outside here, you have a very low oil volume, so there's a lot of friction out here. So if you get it out to, this is most of the time like the 5 or the 6 board. So if you get it out here, the ball is going to respond very strongly. But as you go further and further this way, you run into a bunch of oil. And so something that is polished or has a shiny cover will respond very strongly out here. But once you get it in here, it has no chance to do anything. So it's just going to spin and spin and spin and never really get into a roll. And it's going to hit the end of the pattern and kind of jerk and stand up or straighten out or something. Now, if you get it out here too soon, it's just going to take off. And that's why some people get confused by house shots, because like, well, if I throw it that way, it actually goes further that way. Then if I stand further this way, then it doesn't hook as much. So that's kind of what most house shots look like. And this is from a lane level view. So this is the higher amount of oil in the middle. But they do this so that if you miss a little bit right, the ball is going to hook. And if you miss inside, the ball is going to hold a little bit. But the ratios are way too much. It'd be more helpful if it was more like this. And so challenge patterns or patterns that are a little bit tougher are actually easier because the ball doesn't rebound so hard off the dry boards, and it doesn't have so much sludge in the middle to try to dig through. But most of the time when you have those super glossy surfaces that come out of the factory, they're just too inconsistent. And so if you rough up the surface a little bit, again, it gives them a little bit more traction in the oil, and it slows them down a little bit off the dry. So you take this and you turn it more into this, something that still has more response. But aside from surfaces,
flattening the peaks of the bat EKG.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, that's pretty good.
Yeah. All right, so maybe
Angel, you're right there on that.
Yeah. Well, Patrick right above it asked about, you think getting a Crux Prime is a good solid cover stock?
Its spec is a different animal.
I'm terrible at drawing, but that's a better EKG.
There you go.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know.
I suppose I can comment on spec, but yeah, spec is just a different. Just from my past experience with spec, it's a different animal.
Much better, yeah.
Which spec, if I'm right, it was on the Virtual Gravity Nano, or not the Nano, the one that Amanda had. The
Gravity Evolve.
Yeah.
It was on the Gravity Evolve, the Crux Prime, and the ProMotion.
Yeah.
That is something that has, and again, you'd have to get Chad to explain the technical, chemical, sciencey stuff.
I think Storm did put out their
they put it
on spec.
Yeah, they put out a bunch of stuff, but it's very early and very smooth. It's a very strong cover stock, but that also makes it very smooth too. It's not very responsive at all. But that's what a lot of people like about it. That's also what a lot of people hate about it, because when you expect something to actually, most bowling balls get down, and most people just want to see them boomerang on the back end. So that's why a lot of ball videos are just people standing left and throwing right, and just because all people really see the differences in is back end. It's like, oh well, this one's stronger, this one's weaker, just based on the amount of back end they have, and they never go any further past that.
Personally, like spec better than any X. I think it's kind of off a person to person basis. Just your game, your style.
I do too. But if you ask James, it's completely the opposite. He can't get along with spec at all because it's the parallax or the parallax paradox. the parallax paradox.
The parallax paradox. In their first year, looking for it. Just gonna look at it. Shapes, reactions. I mean, if you want to touch on that one, you can. For a bowler in their first year, looking to build a 3-ball arsenal, would you want distinct shapes / reactions, or balls with similar reactions that you just step up, down, on? That's actually a pretty good question.
Yeah, and it kind of fits in what we do, because I tend to carry around a lot of very similar hook potential balls that have different shapes.
Other people looked at your bag, they're like, "What? Too much overlap."
No,
yeah,
well,
I can see.
That's opposite. I carry around a lot of the same shape.
Yeah.
But slightly different. It's slightly different a little bit all the way around the board. Like something like I carry my main bag, IQ Tour, IQ Tornado Pearl, ProMotion, all very similar looks. The ProMotion has a stronger core, but because it's got a smoother cover stock, they kind of overlap, and it's just a little shape delta off of those. It's just little, very, very small friction response deltas.
Yeah.
And then my next bag is Idle Synergy, Idle Pro, and it's become the UC2. And the UC2 is kind of a different one.
Yeah.
Normally the last ball in that last bag I use to kind of just be something different in case I need it. And lately I've been finding out that I have smooth on top of smooth on top of smooth, and even though the Idle Pro has a little bit more boom than the rest of them, sometimes I need something to actually really go nuts.
Right.
And so when we have smoother, softer back ends, I'm probably going to get the UC2 out of league tonight, but just kind of dumping the ProMotion right down the side has worked out pretty well. But those are all in the same general hook potential zone. They don't really hook a whole lot more or a whole lot less, and if they do, something that does hook a little bit more is like the ProMotion technically hooks the most out of anything in my bag, but it's a lot smoother, and so that kind of balances it out. Where something like the Idle Pro, actually the IQ Tour, well, the Idle Pro is probably the best example because it's similar cover stock strength to the IQ Tour Solid, but the cover or the core is a little bit stronger. So similar cover strength, stronger core. It's probably on the weaker side, but it actually covers more boards than anything else because it has both the strength and the friction response that something like the ProMotion, which is technically a stronger ball, doesn't quite have. So I can play more angle or cover more boards with my Idle Pro than I can with my ProMotion. And even to a greater extent, the Idle Pro hooks more, covers more boards than my Idle does, just because the Idle is so much earlier and smoother. It's going to start up sooner, and then when it hits the friction down lane, like I said, the relation, like I said earlier, the relationship between the ball and the lane doesn't really change that much. I mean, you notice somewhat of a back end move because there's no oil for the ball to dig through anymore, but it's a stronger formula, and stronger formulas are going to hook more and back end less the vast majority of the time. Which something like I mentioned in the Parallax Spec video, it's really responsive for as monstrously strong as it is. It's probably one of the, aside from something like the Nuclear Cell and the Original Intense, something that hooks that much and has that much friction response normally doesn't go together because it's you got to trade something sooner or later. It's like sanding a ball. You're going to get more hook or more traction, you're going to get it earlier, but you're going to lose back end at the same time. And sometimes that's the point, and sometimes it's a side effect.
Right.
Sometimes you just need the ball to hook more, and you don't really care what it does down lane. You just need it to dig through the sludge. And other times you're trying to other times it's too fast, and you're trying to slow the friction response
I
down.
think she said drink it.
Yeah. Okay.
Let her surprise us this time.
Yeah.
That's up to you. There you go. Okay.
Or are you ready for the coffee?
No coffee yet.
Okay.
You want to try one of the Martin City ones?
Hmm.
There's an IPA
Yeah.
in there. You want to try the blonde or the?
It doesn't matter. Let's try the Martin. Since we're doing the IPA thing, let's try the do the Martin City IPA.
It's pretty stout. Be ready for it.
I'm good with that.
Swivel blonde.
No,
No, the other
there's
one.
the other ones. I think the other one's an IPA. Should
Mhm.
be. No, it's an ale.
I was gonna say, this one says,
It's an ale.
oh,
Well, pale ale.
American ale, is that what it is?
yeah, extra American pale ale.
Yes, that one. Malcolm, I actually went to Martin City Elementary
Double
and
dry hopped.
middle school.
Okay.
Is that okay? Good with that?
Yeah. Good for it.
I'll try anything once.
So, as we've been rambling for an hour here, you can see that there's a lot of stuff that goes into it, and it's always back and forth between. So, if you take something like a High Road Pearl, let's kind of flip back and start over again. If you take something like a High Road Pearl, which is a much weaker, let's take the High Road Pearl and the Omega Crux. So the High Road Pearl is a much weaker formula to begin with. And so something like R2S Pearl and E-Trax that's on the Rubicon UC2 are very similar cover stocks. They're very clean and they're very responsive. Now, if you take something like the,
See your thoughts on that one.
yeah, this is a number one, a punchier IPA, but then there's also a different flavor in there too.
There it is. There you go.
There's a lot more body.
Yeah, it's
in
pretty
this.
good. Their stuff is really good.
So you get the IPA taste and the
Mhm.
hoppiness, but you also have something that tastes like it's in typically darker
Yep.
beers.
Yep.
So it's almost got like an Irish red kind of
Yeah, I agree.
flavor to it.
Pretty good.
And it's a lot darker.
The pale ale, yeah, it's a little
These
stiffer.
are pretty
yes.
good. They're not stuff that I would personally pick to drink if I had other choices, but I wouldn't
I
mind
don't know. That's
drinking.
Space Camper. Then
I would, yeah.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, those last two were good, and I would drink this too. So
I'm from Lisa. Know exactly where that's at.
and that's the key, right? Whatever gets the pins down. Yeah, and that's man. There's a whole nother. If you go watch the Bowling Fix, our friend Riley Patton just did a comparison between a 500 game Venom Shock and a brand new Venom Shock.
It's a big difference.
And even though I think Motu covers the most durable ones out
They're
there,
very
they
durable.
change the least amount. They're a little bit smoother,
Yes.
generally speaking, than a lot of other stuff.
Usually
But,
it takes a little longer to lane shine them too.
yeah.
Usually.
So they do have more durable covers, and his 500 game old Venom Shock looks great.
And it's still,
The new one's just more responsive.
he really didn't even need a new one, but he just did.
Yeah. That's a good problem to have is when you use something for 500 games, you don't really need a new one because the old
The
one's
new one
great.
hooks a ton. It's literally like 5 volts stronger.
But if you talk to somebody like Anthony Simonson, he's got a bunch of different idles because he
Mhm.
likes to throw the idle a lot. But as you use bowling balls, as they get some use on, they're going to get some oil in. The cover stock is going to get more adjusted, especially if you leave it alone or don't freshen it up a whole lot. And so a brand new ball will act different from a very used ball of the same exact ball. And so he's got 300 game old idles. He's got 200 game old
And he has
idles.
some with polish, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's
I
got
thought I've
some
seen him
with
throw some
polish. He's got some with a lot of surface. And so he likes that general ball motion that ball gives him. But sometimes when a ball, quote unquote, dies, it actually is more controllable, number one. So it gives you the same overall feel and look of that ball. It's just not nearly as responsive as something that's brand new is.
Just got a broken cover. That's all. Cover's good and aged.
Yeah. So when somebody says, well, I threw this ball for 5 games, it didn't match up, I'm selling it, that's idiotic. unless it's something like a James and a parallax situation. And he figured out
There are some balls that you can throw into it.
There are-
terrible.
well, and that's the thing is my first idle pearl was garbage. My first Axiom pearl was garbage too, and I haven't.
Did you ever drill another one?
No, I want to, but it's hard to justify when I already have way too much stuff.
Would
to
you
look to.
say 21 games, 20 games?
20 to 30 games is
Yeah.
about what you need because my Tornado Pearl.
Yeah.
I threw the video with it, and then we started bowling league, and I tried to pull it out, and it was just 9 counts for days. I'm like, I hate this ball. I'm never throwing this again.
Yeah, that thing looks
And I
great.
told you one night, I'm like, yeah, this is just, I'm done with this. It really disappointed me because I liked the way that the ball rolled, but I just couldn't get it to the pocket, and when it got there, it wouldn't carry. But
on the
I'm like-
Nano.
And I was ready to
Yeah.
drop that thing on your toe. Like,
Yeah.
Shut up and stick it in your bag.
but that night that I
Boom.
shot my first 300
Yeah.
is the first night that I pulled it back out again. I said, you know what?
Yeah.
The lanes are getting wetter. That's when they started
Yes.
getting wetter and we're losing
Yes.
ball reaction. I'm like, this might actually blend it out. It might be okay. And I'm like, this is the last. If it doesn't work on this, then there's no chance,
Yeah.
and I'm just never gonna throw it again. And then of course I shot my first lefty 300 and it
And
hasn't
then
left
you
the
end
bag
up
since.
crushing them in Wichita with it.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
averaged
it's-
230 something in Wichita.
You threw it all 8, didn't you?
Yeah, I threw it for all of them.
That's what I thought.
And
Yeah.
still averaged 230, missing a handful of 7
That's
pins
actually
in
the
the
one
10.
ball that both of us carry everywhere.
Yeah, we both carry that
Yeah.
one everywhere. And then some of them, like the Idle Synergy, just instantly clicks.
That was one that I carried everywhere.
I mean, it
an
was-
IQ Tornado Pearl.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot. Box
So-
surface, yes. See, he lane shined it.
Mhm.
It's lane shined.
But that's
can
the
answer
thing
that
is
one.
I literally didn't do anything to that ball for
Mhm.
30 solid games. I let it was started at box surface. I loved the way that it looked for the video. It was too much hook, and so
Yeah.
I was having to play pretty deep.
Right.
But I'm like, I love the way that this ball reacts because I love Nano. And the first time around as a lefty, I really loved IQs. I mean, I had IQ Tour Nano and a couple Tour Solids, and I didn't have a Fusion. But I threw the crap out of the Tour Solid and
Yeah.
loved the Tornado too. So I knew that I liked that core, and then I know I love Nano on everything,
Yeah.
and it was great for the video. And then it's like, well, I can't use it. I can't use it. But I just let it get some oil in it. I let it get some use on it. I let it get some shine on it. And gradually over 30 or 40 games, it kind of tamed down to where it's the same ball. It's just not nearly as responsive or overpowering. So I
Right.
can just kind of let go of it and let it walk down in. That is like the difference. A brand new Tornado Pearl versus a 50 game old Tornado Pearl is like the difference between two different formula types. So it may not be as different as comparing, again, looping back to the High Road Pearl and the Omega Crux. They're both pearls, but the High Road Pearl cover is a much more responsive, less aggressive overall. And
Yeah.
those two things, again, they go hand in hand. So when something is flippier on the back end, generally it's less aggressive. So it's not getting any traction any earlier than that. So when it hits the back end, it's really ready to flip and turn over. I mean, I pick pigs.
Hit bad breakup, just can't get over it. Was that directed
Yeah.
at me? Was that directed at me?
Yeah. So,
No, because I threw a lot of storm stuff. So a lot of storm stuff. And actually, the IQ Tornado Pearl was, I think that was the only nano cover I ever threw on the storm side.
mhm.
I think. Because I never had a virtual gravity nano. I
the
threw the
idle,
heck out of a virtual gravity.
the idle is technically nano. Micro
Is it really?
Yeah, Microtrax is.
Okay, so there you go.
Yeah, Microtrax is nano.
Okay, there you go. See?
So, yeah,
Taught me something I
and-
didn't know.
E-Trax, I think, is ERG, or someone said it's NRG, but with the nanoparticles
Oh, okay.
removed out of it. So I know that E-Trax is stronger
Mhm.
than R2S.
Right.
It's just not quite R3S strong because R3S.
Now,
kinda
how long
takes
has
it
R2S been around now? It's been a while, right?
15 years probably.
Because that's, yeah.
It was on the agents and
Oh, yeah,
all that
that's-
stuff way back when. And even those I don't think are as old as we think they are. I think the agents were still just like 2010 or something,
No,
which is wild to think about. But
the agent, secret agent.
but I think that the E-Trax is
Special
kind of
agent,
along
yes.
the same lines as the ERG formula that was on the Bite.
What was on the X Factor? Do you remember?
That was AccuTread Mystic Pearl.
Of course he remembers.
I remember that one because it's one of my
favorites.
yeah, I know. One of my favorite. It was kind of like
And that was the strawberry
astrophysics.
scent.
I
You want
probably no, that was chocolate.
Yeah,
Which
it
one
was
the
it was
strawberry?
the X Factor Triple Extreme.
Oh, okay.
But no, the X Factor was
It's
chocolate and
so
smelled like a Tootsie Roll.
Yeah, X Factor and the depth charge. Those are
Mhm.
two
Thrills in a
that's
hot
just
car.
all-time favorite on the storm side.
Yep. And I think the depth charge was prothane
Yes.
particle.
Yes. But it was so smooth.
So, yeah.
It was so smooth.
It was a shiny ball that was smooth. But
Very.
again, it was a stronger formula. The
Yes.
particle is what really added traction and slowed it down.
It was released in 2006.
Oh, okay. So it is. Yeah, it was. R2S was on the special agent. I get the special and the secret backwards, but I think the special agent was the Codex looking one that she really liked.
That was the first one that you gave me when I moved up to 15.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You,
So-
you gave me the Radical Inferno and you gave me the Special Agent. Those were the two that you gave me to move up to 15.
Mm-hmm.
Special agent.
Yeah.
Oldies.
Yeah.
I
It was
could,
a very Codex looking ball.
I
But
could literally talk about an X Factor and a depth charge all day.
yeah, I know.
Like,
Shall we go get ours?
balls are
Over the
stupid
basement.
good.
But anyway, back to the difference between a High Road Pearl and an Omega Crux. Obviously, the cores are a lot different.
Yeah.
So you have to first take into account it's not just Pearl versus Pearl.
Right.
You have a very high RG, medium. It's almost high differential. I would say that you have to get up around 50 before you get to high differential. But it's 046, so that's higher than something like a Daredevil. But the core, the RG is also quite a bit lower in the Omega Crux. So number one, it's going to be earlier and it's going to have more torque to begin with. So cores aside, again, you could tell the difference between a High Road Pearl and an Astrophysics.
Oh, yeah.
Still flippy, but the High Road Pearl pushes much further down the lane. And
Oh,
it
yeah.
was also if you watch the Parallax Effect video, we compared her Parallax Effect to the Rubicon UC2 because they're both Pearl covers.
Yep.
They're both asymmetric. But it's very, very easy to see that the UC2 pushes so much further down the lane. That's a really good explanation. That's a really good
Visualization.
visualization of the concept that we're trying to talk about today. And I kind of, knowing that this is what we were going to talk about this week, I added it in there to the review. And I thought that would be a good way to show, especially because people keep talking about Pearl Hybrid and Solid like they're the be-all, end-all, and that's all you need to talk about when it comes to ball reaction.
Well, I think a lot of people are just misunderstood. Or
It's a
just don't-
category.
Yeah.
It's not the.
Yeah, it's
So,
exactly.
The Parallax Effect video is a perfect example of cover stock strength because all other things aside, they're very, very similar balls. The Parallax Effect has a slightly stronger core than the UC2, but they both have polished pearl cover stocks, and the Parallax Effect is so much earlier and so much stronger than the UC2, even though she stands in the same place throughout the video, but you can see that the UC2 easily pushes several more feet down the lane before it really gets winding up. The effect gets about halfway down the lane.
Yeah.
And because the cover stock is so strong, it starts slowing down.
Yeah, they named that thing correct. It is traction.
Yeah. It's got a bunch of, it hooks so much and it slows down. And when a ball gets friction with the lane and it starts slowing down, that gives it even more time to hook.
Yeah.
Something like the UC2 that's a lot more responsive. It's not as strong, but it's a lot more responsive cover. It's not going to do near as much until it hits the hard friction, which is then when it's going to make its big move.
Right. You can clearly see in the video the difference.
Yeah. So something, again, if you watch like a High Road Pearl versus an Omega Crux, they're both pearls, but they have zero in common. I mean, the Omega Crux is virtually Amanda's UFO, which is just, it rolls and it's strong, but it's very, very smooth. Whereas something like a High Road Pearl is not going to do anything for 40 feet, and then it's going to turn sideways.
It shines so quick, that ball does.
Yeah. But
Terrible.
that's the best illustration, I think, of the difference between cover stock strengths, all other things, removed.
Yeah.
Or all other things the same, is the difference in the cover stock formulas. And that's the hardest thing to get down because generally, again, the stronger the formula, the earlier and smoother it's going to be, even if it's a pearl, even if it's shiny. And so they use those things to kind of go back and forth. Take something like the nuclear cell. The nuclear cell is a very strong asymmetric pearl, but it's E-Trax. It's not microtrax.
Right.
And so if you take something, the Parallax Effect is more like microtrax. That's why the nuclear cell, even with as strong as it is, still gets down the lane pretty easily, doesn't slow down a whole lot, and it's still really flippy. I mean, somebody like Michael Zuck, our Thursday Night League.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the big guy that twisted up. Well, Sean Beach also throws a nuclear cell.
He throws it a lot.
Yeah, and it's fairly smooth for him too, but he throws it
really hard.
He throws it really hard.
He's massively speed dominant.
Yeah.
Another thing that we could talk about too is, especially since we're talking covers, is a lot of people are misunderstood on when it comes to when you resurface a bowling ball, or when you
detox
one, or when you actually put surface on it, but you either do it by hand or on a spinner. Like, because a lot of people, if you actually will resurface a bowling ball, they would say, well, why doesn't it hook anymore, or something like that. And why people get misunderstood on why, when they resurface it, they think that it doesn't hook anymore.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that?
Number one, it's very hard to replicate a factory finish. You can get pretty close, but I think most of the time when people resurface something, it comes out way too strong.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It comes out, it ends up way too strong. And so most of the time when you resurface something, you put it on the 500 pad, or you put on the diamond, especially if it's got, what we call them the diamond pads, they're 100 grit.
Yeah.
And so if you have a resurfacing machine, they have the different blocks. Most of the time, if you're trying to truly resurface something rather than just change the surface, when you resurface something, you get a whole lot deeper. So you get a lot of the scratches out, you just completely freshen up the cover.
Just gives you a cleaner cover.
But most of the time, we go something like 100, 500, 1,000, 2,000 and leave it there. And that's like ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, that is crazy, crazy strong. And so it's going to hit the lane and it's just going to burn up and quit. What you really need to do is start with something like 500 and then go straight to 2,000, or something and make sure that you get that surface in there good to erase a lot of that 500.
Right.
Otherwise, you're going to have a crazy chalky looking finish on it, and it's going to dig in really hard, and it's going to be, it's going to be really strong.
Sorry, I just thought of that, and while we're on covers, and it's one thing that people have heard a lot of when they resurface a bowling ball. Why doesn't it hook anymore? It doesn't hook like it used to. Well, makes a difference.
And that's also something very interesting too, because several times they have done, most of the time they do solid pearl hybrid solid, whatever else, and they're all the same. They're all the same formula. But what they did with the idles is, so they had the idle first, which was Microtrax or NRG, very strong, and then they had the idle pearl, which is E-Trax pearl, so a completely different formula. Because if I've got several balls with NRG pearl on them, and anybody that has the Tornado pearl, it's pretty smooth, especially once you get some games on it.
Oh yeah.
But the shiny stuff, Angel has a Code Extreme, a bunch of stuff. I've got the Marvel Max SE, the blue one, that's really strong and still pretty smooth.
You don't have it anymore.
Huh?
Which one?
No, I said you have the Marvel Max SE.
Oh, they said you.
Oh
no.
Okay.
So they used E-Trax instead of Microtrax.
Right.
They don't use NRG/Nano pearls a whole lot here because they're smooth. Now they use it on the IQ Tornado Pearl because that's a smooth, controllable ball concept to begin with. And so they wanted because they had the IQ Emerald in the line too. That's another thing, is that the IQ Emerald and the IQ Tornado Pearl, even though they're both pearls, don't really have a whole lot in common.
No, not at all.
The Emerald is quite a bit flippier than the Tornado Pearl. And again, what they did with the idle line is that they went down to E-Trax for the idle pearl, but then the idle pro was E-Trax. And so even though you have the idle and the idle pro has a weaker but more responsive cover stock on it.
Yeah.
So it's easy to see how much earlier, smoother, and stronger the idle is than the idle pro, even though they're both solids. And the hardest thing, I think, is memorizing or getting all the cover stock strengths straight, because even though you can have something like an Astrophysics in the Premier line, because it's an asymmetric pearl, it's not near as strong as something like a Nuclear Cell or a Parallax Effect.
Right.
There's no, and
I heard the Nuclear Cell was pretty strong.
Yeah, the Nuclear Cell is pretty strong. It's surprisingly strong for an E-Trax cover. But
is it still in the line?
Yeah,
it is. Okay.
But the Parallax Effect and the Astrophysics have less than nothing in common, even though they're both asymmetric pearls, and the cores are even more similar. The Astro and the Parallax Effect have more in common than the Effect and the UC2.
Really?
because the Coverstocks or the cores are a whole lot more similar than the UC2 core is to the
So if
effect.
I was still throwing storms, or could throw storm stuff, a parallax effect would look pretty good for me.
Yes, because it's very.
Because those of you don't know, I played
don't
a
know.
million games on an Astro.
Yeah, I don't know how to put it into motive terms because it's not. The Trident Nemesis is.
Trident Nemesis is probably our only skid flippy piece that we have.
Yeah, it's probably closer to a Jackal Flash.
Yes.
Which is a whole lot earlier and a whole lot rounder. It's a whole lot.
Then I definitely like it then.
So it's a stronger astrophysics. The flashes.
So
Would you say the Flash is a fair bit stronger than the Astro?
Yes.
Or okay.
Yeah. I mean, they're round. It's rounder, so it makes instead of more.
Yeah.
But yes. I mean, we drilled it similar, so yes.
But yeah, the parallax effect is so much different than the astrophysics, even though all other things aside, they're two pearl asymmetric balls. And so most people are going to look at that and say, okay, well, I had an astrophysics. I really like this. The parallax effect is another pearl asymmetric ball. So can I get this to replace my astrophysics? Yeah. Instantly, I'm going to think, well, that's a ridiculous question. There we're close. But I drill everything and I know the Coverstock formulas a whole lot better than most people do because number one, they're not drilling as much stuff. They don't have near as much experience with it. And the bowling stuff is hard enough to figure out.
Sorry. Yeah. Just in motive terms, just say it like you're in the movie in Fargo.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Ooh.
Oh, it's pretty good.
But
I can get that in a second, Keith. Hang on. Go ahead. Go ahead. Finish what you're saying.
But I forgot what I was saying.
Sorry.
That's normally what happens.
The Fargo is pretty good. I don't know any suggestions for motive on US Open pattern. What is the length? Do we know? I don't know what
the US Open pattern is going to be very flat. So usually anything that's flat or tough.
Do we know the length though?
It's normally 38 to 40.
38 to 40. So you're gonna. I mean, it just depends on how much motive stuff you've got. I mean, you're gonna want like a flare, ghost, a venom shock. A desert tank. Yeah, desert tank would be a good one. And if you have you don't have a purple tank unless you're a sap player. So a desert tank, tank blitz, something like that would look pretty good.
Very smooth and slow.
You're gonna want smooth stuff. A Jackal Legacy would look pretty good too because it's got a forge flare cover that's early and smooth.
Yep. But anyway, I guess I was saying when you don't drill as much stuff and you don't have near as much experience with the specific Coverstock types or the formulas are a whole lot more important than people think. And most people think, well, asymmetric pearls are going to hook more than symmetric pearls, which are more than medium symmetric pearls, which are more than low end symmetric pearls. And that's not necessarily because they mix and match these things again, taking a weaker Coverstock and putting it on a stronger core like they did with the astrophysics gives you more torque, more predictability, more punch on the back end while still making it usable on a house shot. Where something like the parallax effect, you're going to have a lower rev rate and or higher speed to be able to throw that on most house shots. Yeah. Otherwise, it can be kind of pukey. And that's the other thing to go into with friction responses because we have more beer.
It's not 8 o'clock in the morning. My kid's in school. As long as I'm home to pick her up, we're good.
Well, because this is such a confusing
man is at work and
because it's such a confusing topic. So what James was talking about with friction responses like 45 minutes ago, sometimes you can use different friction. Well, no, everything's a rabbit trail.
Awesome.
So you kind of keep chasing stuff around.
Yes.
So when he was talking about friction responses and what situations you would find yourself using them in, the US Open question is perfect to talk about that because you're looking for slower friction responses because the US Open pattern is very flat.
Yep.
If you miss outside, it's going to stay there. If you miss inside, it's going to take off. And so more responsive balls, like somebody asked me, and not ripping on anybody, but somebody asked me where the phase 3 was on I did my Sport Essentials. I had the first one, then I had the update.
Yeah.
And he knows the phase 3 was missing. And I don't think the phase 3 has any business being on a sport pattern anywhere just because of how flippy and responsive it is. You're not going to see any pros throwing it on sport patterns, but you're going to see you saw a fair amount of people throwing them on house shots.
DJ Archer, he throws the crap out of it.
Yeah. But again, he can kind of feather it, and he gets deeper than most people get.
Yeah.
And he uses the angle for hold.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a whole nother.
8:30 a.m. on Fridays, Dan.
Yeah, normally these are 8:30 on Fridays.
Central.
Central. Thank you.
by the
Sorry. 8:30 a.m. Central, and it's Rise and Grinds, and it's
most of the time we're
late
drinking
start
coffee, but we have Tippy Cow now.
today.
So anyway, people will use different friction responses. So now we were talking about the differences in strength between the High Road Pearl formula, the cover formula itself, and the Omega Crux formula. For that, quite a big difference in strengths, quite a big difference in friction response. The Omega Crux is very early and smooth, which is not a typical. There are a lot of solids and hybrids that are a lot longer and stronger than the Omega Crux. Not a very stereotypically pearl ball in the Omega Crux. The High Road Pearl is absolutely exactly what you think about when you think about pearl ball. It's long and flippy. That's what most people think when they think pearl.
I didn't get along with the Phase 3. The Phase 3 didn't.
Yeah.
I was not a fan.
Why would it not show this? Yes, subscribe and hit the notification bell. I've even got a little graphic for that now.
Did it really?
I forgot to put in the Parallax Effect video.
Did it really hide that?
Yeah, it hides some really weird stuff.
Exactly, Brian.
It says he said hit, so that's probably
Oh.
it's probably one of the violent trigger words or something for
Hit.
Yeah, exactly. I don't even know.
So you might as well not talk about baseball, football, whatever. Yeah, Friday morning. So.
That's interesting. I think Frankie was using a Phase 3 at the Snowman, either him or Prather.
There was some live looking. I didn't. Barnes did a bunch of them. I know Stu did a bunch of them, and I tried to watch as much as I could.
That's when a lot of the guys will take that. When Jack was talking earlier about why they would sand a pearl ball.
Yeah, there you go.
The pearl formulas, the pearl version of the formula are most of the time going to be more responsive. So if you take a pearl ball and you sand it, it's kind of like shining a solid ball, because if you have a shiny pearl ball, it's most of the time going to be more flippy than the shiny solid version of it.
Yes.
So IQ Emerald versus Lane Shine or even Polished IQ Tour, the IQ Tour is going to be smoother.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
There's one or two shiny balls that you had that you wanted to knock the shine off, and then put it back like Lane Shine it.
Yeah, and let it Lane Shine back just to erase the factory. Phase 3, I actually took some surf. My newest one, Lefty, I actually took some surf.
That comes pretty shiny.
It comes pretty glossy. And I thought it was going to have to do it with the Synergy, but the Synergy it shapes like an idol. So it just worked out perfect. And I don't even really know how, but because it was crazy glossy.
As soon as you pulled it out again and had like another 10 games on it.
Yeah, the Phase 3 is pretty sensitive to friction. It will kind of burn up on it. But if you sand it, number one, it blends that a little bit more and keeps it from burning up so much.
Yeah.
And in the case of something like the Snowman, if you take an already strong sanded ball and put more surface on it, it's just going to be even earlier and smoother.
Tobias.
Late to the podcast, but that beard is super red. Holy heck. Yeah, when I let it grow out for about a month or so.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, you can actually see it. It takes about a month before you can see it.
Is where I would prefer it to be.
Yeah, well, I think I'm actually going to leave it like this. I might shave my scruff, but I could do the Belmo look here too, where you just don't the Belmo Nick Campfield look.
Yeah, where you get the neck
where they
beard.
just intentionally don't shave for like 3 days.
Kyle Sherman does it too, where you get the neck beard for a while. I can't do neck beards.
Kyle needs to bring back the Caterpillar. That Ron Burgundy.
No.
That looks it looks so good on him though. He's got that Dr. Disrespect.
He is one of those. I thought that he pulled off the mustache.
Yeah, the Dr. Disrespect mustache.
If I ever tried a mustache, my wife would kick me out of the house.
I think everyone looks creepy with that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you can definitely tell the difference between the red and the dark. This is the only hair that I have on my entire head.
Mm-hmm.
So, neck.
Yeah, I've got the same thing as my dad does, at least when he had hair. His hair was brown, and mine used to be a little bit redder.
There you go, Brent. I second the mustache on Sherman.
Yeah, I know.
No!
Come on.
Lip Caterpillar.
Ew.
The Nick Offerman.
I don't have to look at it.
The guy, the beard is red, and it just kind of gradually changes color.
The most epic mustache, though, is the guy from Blue Bloods.
You
know who I'm talking about? I can't think of his name, but he's just got an amazing stash. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah, we got off with Coverstocks to mustaches. There we
Was
go.
it Tom Selleck?
Tom Selleck. That's
Yeah,
what I heard.
the Tom Selleck mustache.
That is
Woo!
epic.
Okay, back on
There you
track.
go, Tobias.
Best one ever. Yeah. Oh, Selleck?
Selleck? Yeah.
Yeah.
Selleck.
You know, we're crazy.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Close enough.
Anyway, Tom Selleck. Yeah.
All right, they're coming at Magnum PI.
Yeah. Tom
Tobias, go
Selleck.
back to bed.
Yeah.
You're not helping.
I can talk
Anyway,
mustaches,
I
I'm
have
sorry.
no idea what we were talking about now. We were talking about the difference in cover formulas. I can't even remember where we were going now.
I don't either.
I don't know. We were going to talk about friction responses.
How about I get you more beer?
Okay.
Yeah. So
Wait till
do
he gets,
the
just wait until he gets some white hair mixed in with the red. Yeah, you get some of that.
do just the
pepper.
regular. What was that?
I got the blonde one in there.
regular pale ale.
Oh, the Boulevard Pale Ale.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got 3 left in here.
Yeah. Just the Boulevard Pale Ale.
Look at what you've done, Shim says.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like Hirschman's too. Yeah. Hirschman has a really red beer, and then it kind of fades.
Wait till you
up.
get some pepper and some salt and pepper in there.
Yeah.
No,
I'm
it's
actually
gonna
get
look like
there's some in there.
Yeah, I know.
We're actually going silver, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, you got some.
So
in there.
yeah, I've got a little bit down here, but
Yeah, if I pull my hair back, I've got silver streaks.
You know what? If I had hair, I bet I would probably
Yeah,
add
yeah.
some grays.
I'm
mhm.
gonna look like a Christmas tree. I'm
My
gonna have
5-year-old, my
tinsel.
5-year-old gives
I'm
me.
gonna
I was gonna say Ray is gonna work on that. So next 5 years,
You will see plenty of grays in my beard before it's all
you
said
saw
and
what
done.
happened to David Halseth.
Oh yeah. The difference between me and him though is he
Yeah.
threw that thing out like a foot, and then that's not gonna happen.
He
Yeah.
got caught in his zipper.
Wow, that would hurt. I'm trying to even
He
this out.
said he shaved it off because he said a couple times he would go to zip up his jacket and he actually got his beard caught in his jacket.
Yeah,
There you
I
are,
mean,
sir.
when you've got Clifton Cushenberry calling you and saying, "Hey, I seen your daughter out there with her boyfriend," and
Oh nope.
just let her know she's got a lot of daddies out there.
That is one of my favorites, by the way. If you have not had this,
Yeah,
Boulevard Pale Ale is
just
delicious.
the original stuff. Yeah, this is good.
This is very good. Off the topic of
It's also
mustaches and
darker than
beards.
regular.
It is very
Yeah.
dark. Well, it's not very
But-
dark, but it's it's a lot darker. I might actually have to step away and
Yeah, hit the
hit the head, as they call it.
yeah.
It's a
So
difference
anyway,
between coffee and beer.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, yeah, we do actually have a coffee beer that we're gonna do
That'll
eventually.
be our last one, right? I'm sure.
Yep. So anyway, as far as friction responses go, we were talking about the U.S. Open pattern,
Yes.
and
Yeah, there you go. That's
where
where
you
we're at.
no, the snowman doubles with that's where we're
The
at.
phase 3 with
I'll hit
Frankie.
that before we
Yeah.
So the phase 3 is very, very responsive. Now, it's also a very R3S is a pretty strong formula. If anybody had an intense or an intense fire, or anybody that has a phase 3, they're pretty strong and they're also pretty responsive. So it's just taking the R2S idea and amping it up.
Yeah. I
So-
saw both of those.
The idea behind taking something that strong and sanding it is that a more responsive formula a stronger, more responsive formula is going to give you a great blend between still having some shape to it, even sanded,
Yep.
and also having enough traction to dig through the oil. And so that's why they will take something like that, or an Axiom Pearl, something that's a stronger formula, but also still kind of responsive. And instead of going something like Axiom or UFO and sanding it even more, it's just going to make it grind to a halt and be really slow down lane, because that's kind of what they're built to do. Is sometimes you sand a ball for the hook to get it to just dig through the oil,
Yep.
and sometimes you sand it just to smooth it out. There's a lot of people that throw very strong ball. That's why if you go back and watch the last U.S. Open that Frankie won, everybody else was having an abysmal time.
2 years ago? Yeah, 2 years ago. Yeah.
Everyone was having an absolutely abysmal time just getting the ball to the pocket. They all looked lost, and they were using weaker, more responsive stuff. But here
Yeah.
Frankie comes out, they're flying, and he's throwing an idle.
That
And
was
he-
the last one. Was that the one
yeah.
he shot 300 on TV?
No, that was the first one that he won. This most recent one, well, what he was shooting, he shot like 220, 230, which felt like 300 on that show.
Oh,
Because
yeah,
I think
yeah.
Belmo shot 160 and
I remember he
Rash
threw
shot
the idle.
170 or something like that.
That's
He's the only one that shot a halfway decent game, and he shot a couple of them back to back because I think he was the 2 seed.
Yes.
I can't remember who the 1 seed was, but it wasn't a close game.
Was it Belmo?
I don't think so, because I think Belmo was earlier. I think he got knocked out. He was 4th or 5th seed, and he got knocked out pretty easy. Well, he might have been the top seed and then shot 160 or something. but everybody else was using quite a bit more responsive
It's gonna drive
equipment.
me nuts now.
Yeah.
One seed was Rash.
Okay, the number 1 seed was Rash. Okay, yeah, James is always, he remembers this stuff somehow.
PBA geek.
Because that's all he does.
I just remember that, yeah, Frankie was throwing an idle from 4th arrow and kind of fading it, but he was using, even though
Yeah, I
everything
remember
was
that now.
flying, that's why everybody else was using much weaker equipment.
Yep.
But weaker also means more responsive, and
Mhm.
so they were having trouble hitting the pocket where Frankie wasn't.
Right.
He was using a very strong ball, counting on it to burn up and quit.
And literally just kind of fluffing it.
Yeah, he was just kind of fluffing it right through
Mhm.
the middle and just trying to hit the pocket because he understood that that's what was going to, watching
Yep.
everybody else. It's like, well, everybody else is using weaker stuff and they can't even hit the pocket. So if I use
Yep.
something stronger, it's going to hook early and then it's going to be really slow down lane. And
Right.
so I can just kind of
Mhm.
float it out there and let it puke and give up. And so that's the point where he's using a stronger ball, not for the hook, but for the smoothness. That's why a lot of
Right.
people use urethane on tighter conditions, because urethane actually hooks a ton. It hooks
Urethane
so
hooks
much
a lot.
that
Yes,
it hooks
does.
very, very early. Like the people that threw the Black Widow urethane, I mean, Anthony Lockwood, he couldn't even hardly keep his on the lane. I mean, it was just hook and hook for days, because
Yeah.
instead of the typical urethane idea where you use weaker cores so that it hooks early and then it starts rolling over the same oil
Mhm.
tracks.
Yep.
So it hooks early and then just kind of walks into the pocket the rest of the way in. The Black Widow urethane had a stronger, I think it had kind of an amped up urethane cover.
Yes.
And then it had the gas mask core in it.
Yep.
And so it just hooked off the planet because it wasn't rolling over the same oil tracks all the way down the lane.
Did it absorb oil like the others do?
It doesn't, but that's a whole lot less of a factor than.
Is it like our microcell polymer? Similar?
Microcell's kind of more along the
Yeah.
lines of spec than
Yeah.
anything else is. But typical urethane, you want to make sure that you wipe it off in between shots because it won't absorb the oil. And after a certain period
Yep.
of time, it will start to kind of slick up and create a little bit more carry down than a regular reactive ball will. When you have something that flares that much, it's not going to cause much carry down anyway, just because it's not
That's-
rolling over the same
yeah.
oil tracks.
That's
over
the thing
and
I
over
think people get confused about with urethane. They think that it's, dry lane. No, those balls hook, and they hook a lot. They hook at your feet. If it's not, it depends on what you're bowling on. So, but they're very smooth off of friction. So, wouldn't you
Okay.
agreed?
Yeah. Yep. So,
James gave us the entire show that day.
yeah.
My goodness. On the balls, you have
Mhm.
lane shine. How do you maintain that service? Leave them shine. And just kinda
Yeah, on the
leave 'em
balls,
lane
you
shine.
like to have lane shine. Yeah, you
don't
just,
you clean
just
them
leave
and
them
leave 'em.
alone.
Yeah.
Really just clean it. But sometimes they get a little bit too shiny. And so I did, what I like to do, Storm's Reactive Scuff is great because it gives the ball a deep clean. It also has some sand or some kind of grit in it
Oh yeah.
that also roughs the ball back up.
Mhm.
It ends up at about 3,000 grit. And so if you do that, number one, you're giving it a deep clean. You're breaking the surface pretty well,
Yeah.
more than I would think that sanding it would do, especially with 3,000.
Right.
But it still leaves you close enough to just another couple games and its lane shine back up again. So Reactive Scuff is something that I really like to use because it again gives the ball a deep clean.
Mhm.
It breaks the shine a little bit and kind of resets it without going too rough or too crazy. And then it's just a couple games away from being right back in the sweet spot.
Are you playing? For nationals? I'm assuming you're planning on taking urethane.
Yeah, I'm going to take a whole bag full of urethane.
There you go. Well, you're left-handed.
So-
Imagine that. I
Or
mean,
the-
I would take urethane to nationals.
Fast pitch. Well, yeah, the
Oh.
bag full of urethane is going to be the fast pitch, the pitch black, and the promotion. That's my bag. So my extra promotion out there. I think I'm going to short pin. I think I'm going to do 2 1/4. And then
Short pin promotion.
Yeah,
Interesting.
I was going to say, which somebody asked me about that on the right side of the lane. All right, I mentioned that, and I said a short pin promotion. I think last week I said would be a terrible idea on the right side because it's
On the right
already
side.
really smooth.
Yes.
And you're going to take that and make it even smoother, and so it's going to be even worse of a look than urethane for the vast majority of people. But on the left side of the lane,
Yes.
we were talking about Discord the other day that Kevin Williams and Packy did a GB4 review, and they both put 2-inch pins on them, and they're still like turning sideways.
They both did 2-inch pins.
Yeah,
on? I
they
didn't
both
see
did.
that
They
one.
both did 2-inch pins, but the ball's still going to turn sideways because
Yeah.
we don't have a track on the left side, and so the ball pushes further, and then the back ends are always clean.
Yeah.
Because nobody hardly ever bowls over there, and so we have a little bit extra length and we have a little bit extra shape, and so 2-inch pins look so much better on the left side of the lane. Like my 2-inch pin MVP attitude looks exactly the same as my 5-inch righty attitude.
Okay.
So it's just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, you're smart to take a bag full of urethane when you go out.
Yeah. So
I mean, I would take a bag full of urethane.
Yeah. Packy does on every ball. And if you notice, Jacob Buttriff, when he's not throwing urethane, he's throwing 2-inch pin reactives. When they are reactives, they're still 2-inch pins. So they're just slightly more reactives, or slightly more reactive urethanes.
Okay.
So
and did you see all the surface for the Bradley, by the way?
Yeah.
Like Kevin, all the guys that were bowled the Bradley Open, like they were.
Well, I was gonna say that was
It was stupid.
That was like 35 mils, and
I mean, you had to just barely throw it and turn as much as you can, like it.
Yeah.
And still get it to wrinkle with like 500 grit, if not more. It was bad.
Yeah. So sometimes, again, the friction response does come into play for a couple of different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Like I like to take, whenever we go to heavier sport patterns, even if they're shorter, like this next one that's coming up next weekend.
Yeah, I'm missing that.
Broadway V2.
37
feet,
37?
but it's almost, it's 37 feet, but it's almost 27 mils. So that's getting up into 25 is pretty average. Most of the time, your regular house shots are between 19 and 22-ish.
Yeah.
Once you get up into 22 to 25 is a lot more manageable. It gives you better ball reaction, I think.
It does.
Drier league shots are just to help people get the ball to hook.
Yeah.
Most league bowlers don't have higher rev rates. I think 22 to 25 is a more comfortable range. But once you start getting north of 25, that's when you really get into, okay, you need stronger, not only stronger formulas, you need stronger surfaces.
Right.
And so that would be, I'm going to take both my urethanes. I'm going to take my 2-inch MVP attitude. I'm going to take my Omega Crux. I'm going to take my Zero Gravity. And then all my an assortment of my regular
Take a Gravity
stuff.
Evolve.
The idle
It doesn't
synergy.
hook.
Yeah. The idle synergy
Mine
is
did.
absolutely
Y'all
not
got a
going.
weird one.
Yeah. So the idle synergy is absolutely not going. It looks great on a house shot, but anytime I want to leave it glossy, I want to leave it shiny.
And I don't have hardly anything for that.
So I'm
Like
jealous that you're getting the
ball.
bowl because I'm really looking forward to bowling on something short,
Mhm.
and because it's been forever,
Yeah.
and I can't because I'll be in Southwest next weekend. So I'll be in
Yeah.
Wichita. From what I understand, they're hooking down there too,
Mhm.
but the scores are just millions.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
kind of
Riley
funny
was
that
bowling. He said he had like 4 or 5 300 announced when he was just like, and I'm
Sounds like a Thursday night.
Spencer Hildebrand and Zach Cothran shot 16-14 for doubles.
Oh
And
my-
he's like, yeah, I'm hoping to stay in the top 10, but at least, we're going to leave with have the lead, and we're going to leave with the lead. And then the very next day, somebody shot 16-24.
16-20.
Yeah, I know.
Holy
So yeah, the first weekend of Southwest and double, there's already multiple 1,600 plus double scores.
Well, talking to Waswell, he said that literally he had like the first set, he had no ball reaction. And I said, well, they just played tight. And he said, no, they were actually hooking.
Yeah.
So
Well, he was all the way left, and he kind of spins the ball.
Yeah.
And so he shouldn't have any trouble with length. But yeah, when he shot that 300, he was playing like fourth arrow.
I already have an idea when he told me that where I'm going to be at. So.
Yeah. So sometimes friction response is, and that's where the parallax comes into play a lot for me, because it's stronger, but it's also smoother. So something like the parallax is so strong that I just don't get much above the idle synergy. I can't throw the RST.
Yep.
I can't throw the UC2 very much, but because the parallax is so smooth, I can throw it more often than I otherwise would. Like when we bowled Lawrence City a couple weeks ago, and the lanes were drier than they normally were.
I will drive both days.
And
Both
normally,
days.
I've been whacking the place with my synergy for weeks, and it looked like crap. That when we bowled doubles and singles, it was just
because you threw the parallax both days.
Yeah, it was starting early and giving up and puking and whatever else. And so I threw the parallax and shot 14 or almost 1,400. Which is pretty good punting. And then the following night for team, the parallax didn't look very good. And so then I went to the Tornado Pearl and shot 290 or 279, or I think it was 279, because that's what I told. That's what I told everybody. It's like, I'm not going to miss 700.
It was 79.
Yeah, it was 79
Yeah,
because I started with 210.
You shot 279 twice, but 2 days in a row, didn't you?
Yeah, because I shot 279 the night before with the parallax.
It was 279.
But yeah, and that's quite a big difference between the Parallax and the Idle Synergy, even though they're both hybrid. Again, we can talk about both being hybrids. Parallax is a whole lot smoother than the Synergy because the Synergy gets down there and then goes zip. And the Parallax gets down there and goes,
the Parallax, when it sees friction, it goes, well, in your case, it goes right. But
yeah.
And it definitely does. How do you throw a ball longer? Do you mean, like, how do you get it to go longer down the lane?
That's a whole different can of worms.
Yeah.
But again, since we're talking about bowling ball stuff, if you're having trouble getting a ball down the lane, you might need some higher RG stuff. Like Brad Miller really likes to roll the ball.
He said, yeah, how do you get it down the lane? I mean, you can either throw it harder or loft it.
Yeah, you can throw it harder. You can hook it less. You can loft it a little bit. Or you can play with, I like to do mechanical or physical stuff first before the bowling ball stuff. The bowling ball stuff is once you have your mechanics or your game down good.
Yep.
You never want to go chasing equipment because as soon as you're buying that new softball bat or the new set of golf clubs or the new golf balls or the new bowling balls, instead of actually getting better, you need to learn how to use them to begin with because you're not going to notice all these smaller nuances and all these little things until you know what you're doing physically. But sometimes, again, why Brad throws so many high roads is he doesn't have. He's got a pretty heavy roll.
Yes, he does.
He's got a decent amount. I wouldn't call him high rev, but he gets on it.
He's probably medium.
He also likes to kind of slow roll it.
Tour wise, he's probably medium.
Yeah. Tour wise, he's medium. He's still got a 425, 450 rev rate,
which is amazing because when he was younger, he did not have that at all.
Yeah.
What are yours up to now, Lefty?
I wouldn't say it. It's not 400.
I don't even know what mine is.
I'm probably still closer to 325, 350. I can get on it more if I want to.
I'm in a 3. Would you say I'm at least in a 3s?
Yeah. You're 325-ish probably, 300, 325. I'm 325-ish, 350, 375. I probably got up close to 400 in my UC2 review when I got deeper.
Tobias, come on now.
Yeah.
250. Yeah. Get out of here with that.
Yeah.
I'll take about 350.
I need about 350.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, it's about that time.
250. That's dirty.
You know that these are just thinly veiled James roasting streams. Every single it's not the coffee roast, it's the James roast.
It's the James roast.
Yeah, we need the special James roast.
You got the James at
every week.
It's 20 mile an hour, about 490, 500 rev rate.
Yeah.
James should always feel personally attacked.
He should always feel personally
super dense,
James is super dense?
No, I used the wrong. Yeah.
It is the James Rose show.
No, I was gonna say super thick.
Delay this.
Super thick, slightly salty.
And you can do it.
Yeah. 3 out. Oh yeah, same. He's actually going to be that. That's probably what we're going to do is we'll wait. We'll wait and have James in the stream on that because he's St. Patrick's Day. He's flying in for the doubleheader.
Oh, sweet.
That weekend. I think you're bowling with Riley that weekend. He logged me up for Easter weekend at Royal Crest because
No.
Lefty
I'm out.
Lefty at Royal Crest. But no, so I think he's bowling with Riley for the.
He gets to come bowl at Ward Parkway.
and that the doubles is at Olathe East.
Yeah.
And Riley likes Olathe East, so yeah, he
gets to bowl at Ward Parkway and Olathe East.
Mm-hmm.
That was a very good variety.
Yeah.
At least it's not in the middle of summer. So what time's he coming in?
Oh yeah, Jonathan. Yeah, please let Luke trade a UC2 for my virtual tour exclusive. That's the other thing is I'm trading Jonathan I'm getting him a 16-pound UC2.
Okay, that's what I just asked. I see the 16-pound.
Yeah, he's the one. So we need a 16-pound UC2.
522.
So yeah, that's happening because he's got a virtual tour exclusive. The pour is really cool, and so we're going to trade him a ball for that. The virtual tour exclusive is an overseas virtual gravity, basically with R3S hybrid on it. So that's the first place. Yeah, that's the one that. Yeah,
it's still there. I'm not getting rid of it. It's not going anywhere.
Amanda, you have to let Amanda have that.
Oh, I want to keep it for me down the road.
Oh.
But yeah, so
maybe if I ever.
I love R3S hybrid, and so as soon as I talked Chad into putting R3S hybrid on something stateside because we threw it it was on the virtual tour exclusive, and then what else? We had R3S hybrid on something else, and I'm like, the Intense Fire. So we had it on the virtual tour exclusive, and then we had it on the Intense Fire, and I'm like, you have to put this cover stock on something else. And eventually it was the phase 3 and it was amazing.
So we're gonna have a stream in a few weeks with the 3 of us.
Yeah, that could be interesting. Might have to.
We can put James in the middle. Actually, put the little guy in the middle.
I have no idea where we're gonna put him.
Yeah, he's just sitting here. He'll be like up here.
Yeah.
No,
we might actually have to. I might have to bring up chairs, or we might have to go down to the set or something. That'd be
I was just going
crazy.
to tell you, you're not doing it up here. You're going down to the set.
Yeah, we'll probably have to do it down to the set. I don't know that. I mean, I still need a new. I still don't know what the heck's going on with my.
We're kind of just rambling
You need to
now,
take
having some
everything
fun
down
here.
and we need to
Yeah.
go
I guess
to
we can.
paint.
You want to mess with some questions for a minute or something?
Yeah.
See if anybody wants to got any questions or anything. We'll kind of bounce around into this, man. Yeah, because so.
Why is there such a distinction with what is released stateside versus overseas? There's a very interesting story. Yeah.
Sir Mix.
Sir Mix-a-Lot says a little in the middle, but she got much back.
Did. Sorry,
Mhm.
I had to do
Why
it.
are you talking about my butt again?
No, we weren't saying anything.
They were actually
about
talking
that.
about me. It's me being in
Yeah.
the middle.
Well, anytime he talks for Mix-a-Lot, it's.
Yeah. No. Brian said this.
I'm not to Brian's
Sir
question,
Mix-a-Lot
And
says
you-
little in the middle. Yeah, she got much back.
Did. Sorry.
Yeah, literally the
every time.
first words out of my mouth when I saw Angel were, "Oh my God, Becky," because she was
Oh my
she was walking by the pro shop and went,
Look
"Oh
at
my
that.
God, Becky."
Look at that.
Who was
Sorry.
in the shop with you?
Nobody. It was just
I
me.
thought somebody
You
was
could
in
tell
the
No.
shop.
it's a rise and grind that we're
No.
just gonna ramble and have some fun.
Yep.
This is what happened when the wife is home.
Also,
Mm.
he lands at 11.
He can be on the couch. No, we're gonna have to put James on the floor because we're gonna have to be on the couch because he's bigger than we are.
He lands at 11:45 on 312, so probably in
Yeah.
Topeka around
Mhm.
1:30. You know what?
No.
I will let him sub for me that night.
Oh. Okay. Well, he was asking. He was wanting to bowl. So
I will let him sub for me that night.
Okay. Cool.
Do we have a
There you-
shootout that night?
There you go, James.
No, no shootout.
No, that's the off night for the shootout. Unfortunately,
Of course
we're
it
gonna
is.
bowl the shootout.
We should have a special one.
Yeah.
No, please, no.
But yeah, there you go, James.
I will let you sub for me that night. I will gladly sit back and have beer and watch.
God, hopefully, I really hope we're bowling Bart Riddle again, but I think we bowled them too recently. That would be so great.
Hey, West.
Because last time
Yeah.
James bowled for Angel, and Bart got mad because he thought we were because James wore his name shirt,
Oh,
and so he
didn't
thought
know
we were
who
bringing
James
in a
was.
professional from North
Next-
Carolina
next time we
for
bowl.
the little beer drinking league.
Next time.
He didn't know who
Like,
James was. And so when
me.
the guy comes in with his name on the back of his shirt,
Yeah.
it writes down an average of 240 on the sheet. I mean, Bart's eyes just got huge. Like,
He shot-
Wham.
He shot 270, so
So,
he shot 670.
next
he only
time.
left like four
Yeah.
286.
Next time we bowl Bart, we
Yeah.
all need to wear name shirts.
James shot 670 that night, and they were all butthurt about it.
I
And
don't
then
think he shot
Bart,
670.
he shot 672 or 674.
I didn't think he made 670.
No, because
Anyway,
we
James,
barely
You get
we-
sub for me that night. I will sit back and watch.
So anyway, yeah, because
Because
the very next
Oh,
week
okay.
Bart shot like 300, and him and Kelly shot 750, 780 or something like that. And it's like,
No.
there you go. So
Anyway,
you're in town. I get to bowl that whole
yes,
weekend.
we can
so.
talk. Okay, so Jeremy brings up a good point, and I will hit back to the stateside overseas thing.
I'm gonna take this second too.
Okay, yeah, and then I'll finish this off, and then
And we can have another one, I guess.
There's still two more in
It's-
there.
Mhm.
Oh, now I'm stiff.
Yeah, I know that's gonna be all right. So anyway,
How old
because
are you?
I know about the stateside overseas thing. The way that they explained it to me is that in other countries overseas, specifically Japan, it's considered rude or poor form to see someone else doing well with the ball and then go buy one yourself. That's it's not necessarily dishonest, but it's kind of, it's not a very respected thing to see somebody else doing well and then try to copy them. And so that's why they all want they all want to be as different and as much individuals as possible. And so that's why they have, Chad says that they literally release one ball every week or two over in Japan, just because the demand is there for it. Nobody wants to be using the same ball as someone else does. And so most of the time they make very small batches, and that's why they're so expensive. Number one. Number two, they have to be shipped there first and then you ship them back. So that's part of the expense. But it's also the rarity of them too, because they make small batches and they make so many different balls. But a lot of the time, they're remakes of balls that we already have here. For example, I have a Code 0, which is a different Code Black base. It's Code Black, but it's different colors and a different scent, same ball. There's been several different High Roads and High Road Pearls over there, but as long as the ball is a different color and a different scent and a little bit different name, then that's really all they need for that. But the benefit is too that they can use it as kind of a testing ground over there too for.
I think there's two.
Yeah, just pick one, or yeah, whichever one's not the coffee one. We'll finish off with that.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think
The other Martin City one, I think,
yeah, I think that's what
the blonde. Yeah, that'd be a nice one. I do bear. I know. You go pan bear. I know. And then because you can't leave Missile out, she can't have anybody else getting attention.
No kisses. No.
Piggy's like, whatever.
Yeah.
Even
Oh,
she,
you're here,
yeah.
you want?
I'm gonna say, yeah. Even she's not too terrified anymore. She's getting a whole lot better.
Yeah.
She's still kind of hesitant, but
Okay.
normally she would be in a corner off somewhere else.
Okay.
Anyway, that's why they do that stuff with the overseas balls. And plus, again, like I said, it's kind of a testing ground, somewhere where they can kind of try out new cover stocks because they've had the cover stocks on the Insight
I'm back. Sorry.
R4S hybrid. They've had that on a couple other balls. Angel actually has the Virtual X, which is an overseas virtual that has R4S hybrid on it. Granted, it's shiny, but we already have some experience with that cover stock. That's where I got a lot of my experience with NRG Pearl, which we don't, NRG/Microtrax Pearl, because I got the Super Idol, which has Microtrax Pearl, Marvel Max SE, which has NRG Pearl on it. I got the Marvel Max Force, which I believe is also NRG Pearl, and then she's got a Code Extreme, which is NRG2 Pearl.
And
so
and stuff like that.
Yeah. And I do have the
The green idol.
the Phase 3 SE. The Green Idol is
I
just
remember that.
actually there was an interesting thing with the Green Idol. It was supposed to be green initially, but the Radicals Ridiculous or Beyond Ridiculous, whatever one that was lime green too, came out right before the Idols were supposed to come out, and so they changed the color on them. The Idol was originally supposed to be that bright green color,
Oh, I didn't know
like
that.
the Volt
I
Solid
thought I
or
heard
whatever.
something that actually was supposed to be flopped. That the purple was going to be the overseas.
Ready for the blonde?
Pretty close.
This is our next
I thought.
beer we're moving to here.
Maybe it's not.
Survive. Here we go. Martin City Survival Blonde. Had this once. I don't know if you're gonna. It's a Belgian style.
Yeah, the green one was Belgians. I love Belgians. Oh yeah,
You like
white.
blonde?
I love Belgian whites
Sorry.
because they have kind of the winter spices. Like if you have a Sam Adams Cold Snap or something like that. I think it's Sam Adams Cold Snap. But yeah, they have kind of the winter spices in there.
Yep.
But anyway, there's also another interesting tidbit is that the Hustles were initially supposed to be called the Freestyles.
Oh,
There's
yeah.
actually a Bowler's Journal article that has a Bowler's Journal magazine that came out with the advertisement for the Rotogrip Freestyles, but Motive got to them right before Storm did, and so they had to change the name
The
of the Hustles.
Freestyles. Yep.
Yep, so they had to change the name from the Freestyles to the
I
Hustles.
think I answered this earlier. Keith, I have not thrown a purple tank yet. No.
The Belgian stuff.
Is that good?
New Belgium is one of my favorite brewers. They make a La Folie, which is just ridiculous.
That is pretty good.
I actually like Boulevard sours now better than I like New
Not a
Belgium
big sour
sours.
guy.
New Belgium makes some ridiculous sours. They have one at Yard House called the Petrus Passion Fruit, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
They also have the Stupid Silly, and then La Folie is really good. But
People are probably enjoying this
Yeah.
one today. A little different than
mhm.
8:30 in the morning talk. And
Yeah, somebody
Yep.
made the comment. It said, where's it
we're
at?
kind of just having some fun today. How about
Yeah.
that? Cover stocks and a little bit of everything.
Oh yes.
Friday.
Anthony, by the way, is in Boston, and he actually started up a new kind of podcast with his
I
girlfriend
saw something about
where
that.
they have, again, they kind of
Yeah.
do like a beer podcast, because
Them-
we used to do Anthony used to do the beer frames,
Yeah, that's right. I remember seeing those
With
ones.
me?
Yep.
and they're not talking about bowling, but I think they're just talking about a bunch of different things and telling funny stories and whatever else. And Anthony's happy right now, and he's lost a lot of weight.
He lost
He's
a ton,
he's
yeah.
skinny, Anthony.
Because he's up in the Boston area.
Yeah, he's up around Boston. I think it's kind of like being in, called Belton or Lee's Summit or Independence or whatever. You just generally kind
Yeah.
of call that Kansas City. It's just
Yeah, it's
easier when you're telling somebody else. It's like, I'm from Kansas City. Whether it's Independence, Lee Summit, Belton.
You live in Kansas City.
Yeah, it doesn't really. Olathe, whatever. It's Kansas City.
Did my first 600 series in league last night. 162, 202, 235, or 605. My average
Oh, sweet.
170. Congratulations, Tony.
No.
Keep on going.
Yeah.
Ryan
I
said
shot
this is like bowling Wayne's World, but no guitar.
Exactly. I shot
Wow.
751 in league last night and got my brains kicked in. How about that?
Because it's World.
Yeah, and this is halfway
Yeah.
between. This is almost like an easier drinking Tank 7 because it's got kind of the farmhouse ale. It's got that
Yeah.
farmhouse
So you
ale
like it then?
taste to it. Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Tank 7 hits you hard though.
The only
Um,
difference between me getting my brains kicked in at Royal Crest shooting 750 is a righty that actually got me and not a lefty. Like
Yeah. That's the weird thing. But
Yeah.
even then, again, the stuff last week was ridiculous. I shot 790 and lost money in brackets.
Yeah, that hurts.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, it wasn't a whole lot of money, but it's just cool. I don't really care because I shot 790.
Okay, so I was
Choked on
17
another
pins
800,
away
but-
from my 600 last night. Nate, if you were that close, it's coming soon, buddy.
Yeah,
Keep on grinding and it'll be there.
I've got videos for that too. Pick
What?
up your spares, kids.
Can
Yes,
work
you do.
in and
What?
pin up versus pin down on this cover stock top?
Yeah, we can do that, can't we? Or do you want to?
Probably because it kind of works into we're gonna have a dedicated one on layouts, but this is it does kind of go with friction response and shape, especially from it's a lot more difficult territory to navigate when you're talking pin up versus pin down on asymmetric stuff, because Chad actually told me that with the Crux Prime #1, the mass bias is 7.5 inches away from the pin rather than 6.5.
Okay.
Or 6 3/4, I think is what it is. It's actually 7.5 or 7 3/4. The PSA is away from the pin, which is different than most asymmetric stuff. And the other thing is that because of the void, or kind of if you look at the catalyst core, it's got that cutout kind of on the middle and bottom side on the Cruxes.
Yeah.
He said that you actually get a more dynamic ball motion from a pin down ball, because when you drill the thumb, the cutout's already there in the front. So let me see if I can.
There we go.
I probably can't draw this core at all,
I want to see. Oh, this
but
is
it's
gonna be
got
good. It's gonna be good.
it looks kind of like an avocado. Is what the core really looks like.
Gross.
So
I'm already
there's-
done.
Yeah. So
Sorry, I hate avocados.
I don't know. So the catalyst core.
Catalyst. Yeah.
So if I
Do
could,
we have a box downstairs? I could go get it.
Crux Prime. I could actually just pull it up on my phone.
Yeah, it's probably easier.
Yeah, let me just.
Then you gotta try and hold it in though.
Okay.
You want the box?
Yeah, I get the box.
The inside's something to pick up. Do you think it'll be a piece to 6 rounds? I can't tell you that. Let that one go to him. So
I'm not exactly sure. The stuff that seems to stick around more, regardless of how good it is
Looks
the
like a
stuff that
baller.
has more shelf appeal. And so the Insight doesn't really have the shelf appeal there, I don't think. I just like the Wild Streak. I really, really like the Wild Streak, but it was kind of a purple and gray ball that didn't really stand out on the shelf. The Phase 3 sold a ton. I think they said that it outsold the Phase 2. When the Phase 3 was released, it outsold the Phase 2 in like 2 or 3 months. But it's the sexiest looking ball. It's one of the best looking balls you've ever seen, period.
which one?
The Phase 3.
It is a good looking ball. You get it.
Telemarketer.
And decline.
Declined.
660 last night, Jonathan. Nice set.
Yeah, sweet.
Like seeing some of those balls that are in there. Good stuff. And then I see you've got Nike Fusion and a Badger Pink Fury in there. Cool. Hate avocados. Yeah,
Tim, gonna
I
get my
knew
first
it.
600 next week in league. Yes.
Exactly, Shim.
Heck yeah. Dude,
Avocados, no. I don't do them.
I don't like
We're gonna have to clean the basement now.
guac. Oh yeah, because you made a big mess.
That was the
I do not like guacamole
out of
either.
the 3 stacks, it was the bottom and the middle.
There you go.
So there's the core that you can see, the catalyst core. So it's got that cutout right there, and so that's basically to minimize the change from drilling. Because if you have a rounder shape and you drill more out of the core, it's going to change the numbers of the core. But on this particular core, they made it to where it would minimize the change pre-drilling to post-drilling. So what happens is if you drill a normal pinup layout on this thing, you take the fingers come out of the top right there. And so the fingers actually will lower the RG and increase the differential because you're taking, oh man, sorry. So you're taking weight out of,
after a while.
You're taking weight, or you're drilling more core out of this, which is essentially making it taller and thinner.
It's like a mimic a wave hole, isn't it?
No, not really. But because of that cutout, you're not really taking any more out with the thumb hole. But what you're doing with a pin down layout is you're drilling the thumb in this area up here. So you're removing a bunch of weight and a bunch of mass from this area up here, which is making the core even taller and thinner than you would with a pin up layout. Because the thumb hole, especially if you use a turbo switch grip or something, takes infinitely more mass out of this area up here, which makes it taller and thinner than it does with a pin up layout. So technically, he said that pin down layouts actually make cruxes more dynamic than pin up layouts. So that's something that's a little bit different with that. And it really depends on where the PSA is at, because just pin up or pin down doesn't really mean a whole lot on asymmetrics.
Right.
Depending on where it really depends a bunch on where the PSA is at too. Because my pin down intense fire was so much stronger and so much more responsive and dynamic than my pin up intense fire.
Really?
But the PSA was in a lot stronger position, or the mass bias was in a lot stronger position on the pin down one than it was on the pin up. On the pin up, it was a 5-inch pin, but it also had a 5-inch PSA to PAP measurement. Or it was basically, let me see, I don't know what that, James would know what that transfers to. And
yeah, he's got a fancy calculator.
Beep, boop, beep, boop, beep.
Yeah,
sorry.
But it's a longer measurement, but I had a 3.5-inch mass bias on my 5-inch. It was 5-inch pin down, but it was a 3.5 mass bias to PAP. So that made it a whole lot more dynamic with the pin down version than it did with the pin up version.
Yeah.
So the PSA makes a big difference. And I remember Jeremy asking a question back up there that I'm trying to remember.
First?
Yeah, Chris. I won't say that, but yes, there were a bunch of jokes about that. I remember Jeremy asking a question back up here that I was going to get to after I covered the question about the overseas stuff. I think I skipped it. I thought that his was.
I think it's a while ago now.
Yeah.
Comments. Oh, there it is. Oh.
Yeah, talking about how sanding a ball differently can affect the motion of a ball. I actually have a video that I did on that where not all 2000s are alike, but there are some interesting things that are not entirely legal.
And there's a difference between doing it by hand and a spinner too.
Yeah, there's a difference between doing it by hand with a spinner with water, because water's a lubricant. And so if you take a 2000 pad and you sand a ball by hand, it's going to be a different result than if you sand it on a spinner with water.
Yes.
It's going to be a whole lot smoother of a cover stock, or a whole lot smoother of a surface if you use water on a spinner versus just doing it by hand.
Water would be more of like a resurface.
Also, some people would go so far as to sand or polish, or have sanding and polish next to each other, depending on your flare rings. So if you would sand like your earlier track rings, the ball would get more traction, and then polish your later track rings, you would get earlier hook, but then you would still get more response on the back end. Or
that's too much work.
Could polish your earlier track rings and get more length, and then sand the later track rings to kind of blend the friction response.
Have you done this?
No, because it's illegal. It's the ball's supposed to be the same surface all the way around.
Well, yeah, but that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Does anybody test that?
But I did make a video on that. So going back to that a million years ago, now that I finally remembered.
I have an app for
James
that. He's selling.
Yeah, belt sander.
Jeremy Hirschman, he's done
sounds like a lot of work.
There you go.
Mm-hmm.
Tim on the big bowling balls. None of us can throw them, but we have a friend of ours,
Trevor sure makes them good, but Trevor throws everything good. So.
Yeah, he actually pre-bowled on for Sunday, and we bowled him Sunday, and he shoots 803.
Oh, we bowl them on Sunday?
We do.
Oh, you do? Good luck with that.
Because Dorego, of course, asked me, who do we bowl Sunday? I said, Trevor, and he shot 803. So good luck.
Yeah.
Maybe
good luck, Dorego. Yeah.
Oh, geez. Oh, that's right. He's the. Oh.
Yeah.
We get lucky because none of them are going to be there.
Yeah.
Jared and Jaden are out of town
Oh,
bowling
yeah.
in the Hoosier, and Trevor's in Wichita for the Southwest, and I don't know what the other guy.
Sweet.
Oh, they're quick. But yes, he makes the big bowling balls look good.
The Quantum Helix. Mm-hmm. The gold ribbon. Yep.
Oh, is it? Yeah, that's the one that has the. What was the point of that, by the way?
I'd have to go back and look at that, but the gold part was different it was actually a different cover stock material from the black part. And so depending on the way that you drilled it,
yeah,
you could either get them to blend, or you could get the ball to start in the gold part into the black part, or start the black part into the gold part.
It just looked ridiculous. The gold was urethane and the black's reactive. There you go.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, the Quantum Helix was very, very interesting.
Sure. Enterprises, I know, just one uniform. All the pads are higher and lower.
Yeah, not a lot of people do that.
And across all.
Oh, yes, and that's another good point from Jonathan. Aberlon, Saya Air, the CTD pads, which are actually borrowed, the True Cut pads.
I don't know. I know that I borrowed or not. I've heard the True Cut pads are actually pretty good.
The True Cut pads are really good. They're the best pad. I mean, whatever you think about.
Smaller too, aren't they?
CTD
Aren't they much smaller?
I think they're a little bit smaller, but they last a heck of a lot longer than Aberlon pads. Aberlon pads, a couple of uses on those, and they're
done.
They're done. But then again, when you have like new cover stock versus old cover stock, you have new pad versus old pad.
Genesis pads are pretty good, by the way.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
There's a plug.
Yeah.
They're actually Genesis pads are actually labeled by color, so you know what color they are. It's like if it's orange, it's 2000 or whatever.
Mm-hmm. How often do you want to get balls refinished, restored? Got my current balls around New Year and was thin.
60 games.
It really depends on.
Throwing out a number, 60 maybe.
Same plate. It depends on where you bowl at.
That's true.
You always want to keep the balls clean, but I generally like to let balls sit because I like older / dead stuff. I mean
dead stuff.
The flippier stuff looks good on video, but it doesn't actually result in that great of stuff on the lanes.
Yeah.
And so if I let most stuff just kind of lane shine and sit there and kind of tame down, it's got the same, like we were talking earlier, it's got the same general overall motion and shape, but it's tamer, it's a little blendier, it just gets to the pocket easier or in better shape. So
like James said, more about game count in my honest opinion every 56 games. It really just depends on what you're seeing out of it too.
And so it seems to be like my Tornado Pearl started getting a little too glossy and a little too lazy around the 50 mark. And so I use the reactive scuff I was talking about earlier. Number one, again, get a deep clean and reset the surface without making it crazy rough. And so it's just a couple games back to lane shine and we're good. So
another good topic I think 1 week for us would be transition.
Lane
transition would be fun.
We're going to talk about lane play and everything. I think next week we're going to talk about layouts because that's the next place to go off of.
Then you're going to need this.
Yeah, we're definitely going to need this. But there's a lot of
We should maybe go downstairs next week and lay something out.
We can even do it on the.
I was going to say, do it in the shop.
Yeah, we can do it in the shop.
We can actually do it and actually lay some stuff out.
I'm going to be gone, so you're going to have the bay.
Yeah,
it's weird having you here for the Rise and Grinds.
I know.
Yeah.
Usually we're just seeing you here.
So yeah, we can do layouts out on the bench and.
What I think of new balls,
that'll
like
be
a toddler before a nap, and then after you get like 30 games, it's the toddler after the nap.
30.
That's me.
30 games, you said?
Yeah.
That's my.
All right. There's.
I feel like the Venom Shock. I could put like.
All right.
Yeah, because every time I get a
games
brand new, go out on the lane, just like.
Yeah.
Just.
Oh, they always hook at your feet.
Okay, so there's a lot of good questions right there.
There's there is.
Okay, so the no thumb layouts thing, they drill the finger holes 3.5 inches deep. What does that affect? That takes more. It takes more mass out of the core, and most of the time for the two-handers, while you see the tall pins or the pins that are so far above their fingers, it's to try to take the mass out of as much out of the side of the core as possible, which again lowers the RG and raises the differential. It makes it more aggressive. Overall, they're trying to kind of maximize the amount of hook there. So, But yeah, that does, the more mass you take out of the core, how you reshape the core basically changes those core numbers. So the next one, why is there more hype around the Proton versus the UFO? The UFO to me is a monster. Yet I haven't seen it promoted as hard as the Proton. Rotogrip is still kind of the little brother, little sister company to Storm. Storm's still kind of the big statement, and Physics is a big name. The UFO is kind of a newer ball, but Storm stuff is always going to be promoted.
Didn't they have one overseas first? Wasn't there a UFO overseas?
No, they had the UFO, and then they had the UFO Pearl, and now there's a UFO 2.
Well, they're going to bring a Pearl over here at some point.
Yeah, they're going to bring something over here of the UFO at some point. I would have to say that would get announced pretty soon.
I mean, they're both pretty strong, but they lane shine. Just like the UFO, for example, lane shines so
I think
quick.
It's been a while since we've had anything in the HP4 line. I can't remember the last ball. Because we had the UFO, and then we had...
Just going off my personal experience throwing it, and then seeing my wife throw it, it's... lane shine so fast. I could hit it with surface for her, and then literally, it's lane shine within like 6 games. Like, it's ridiculous. Like if I hit it with a little bit of hand service tonight, by the time we're done with the shootout and everything, it'd be, if she threw it all night, it'd be shine.
That's what I gotta say. The last HP4 ball was the Nuke in March 2020, so we
and
have
that's asymmetrical, right? Is that asym?
I mean, that's ridiculous. To find a Halo Burn. Halo Burn's one of my favorite of all time.
Is the nuclear asymmetrical?
Love the Halo Burn.
It is, okay. Oh, it has to be.
The Nuke was the March 2020. I mean, we should have had 2 or 3 more HP4 balls between now and then. So I don't know what the heck's going on
Microtrax Pearl stateside, please.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's the thing, is why we have so many overseas balls, because we get to play Mr. Potato Head with a bunch of stuff. We have ProMotion Tours that have R2X solid on them. So you guys are, the Trend SE has the Axiom Pearl cover on the Trend core.
I used to be real familiar with all this. Now I don't pay any attention to it anymore.
Oh yeah. RSTX1 was the last HP4. Right. Yeah, that's okay. I was gonna say I thought that there was something here fairly recently. So yeah, the RSTX1.
It's also good for me to know for comparisons, though.
Okay.
So, like, somebody says, "What does this do to this?"
Yeah. I don't know how we missed
that. See some of Ron Hicklin's stuff.
I like having you and Riley both in the Discord, because then all of
I don't know, James.
We get tagged quite a bit.
Yeah.
We do good.
Okay, if you look at some of Ron Hicklin's stuff, it looks like everything reads at 5,000 grid after just 6 games. Yeah, and that's what Jayhawk has a surface scanner too. Ball surface changes radically in just a couple games.
Oh yeah,
everything gets crazy smooth really quick. And like he says, this is something that you really can follow and pick up on. But like he says, it's not just lane shine. It's the shine of hitting the pins and riding on the belts, or riding on the track all the way back, and then having the wheels that bring the ball back up. It's not really lane shine so much as it's equipment or machinery shine. So,
question is, average ball life on new balls that crack now? What? Back into bowling from stepping away in 2001, building a new arsenal based on your videos.
Yeah, average ball life on new balls. The difference is the Burgundy Hammer is urethane. So urethane, especially 2-piece balls, are going to be a whole lot more durable than the newer balls.
That's the Purple Hammer, right?
So, Burgundy Hammer.
Is that the Purple Hammer?
What do you mean?
Burgundy. I like Burgundy. Moss.
Yeah. It's not the Purple Hammer. It's the Burgundy Hammer is kind of like a brown.
I'm really bad with anything that's other than just like purple.
The other one. Brown. What's your honest opinion on guys preferring years, like a 2012 IQ and the new ones being cheaper? I don't understand, because people will. Yeah.
Sorry.
I was way off. I knew it started with an S though. But the year thing baffles me, because some people swear that like the 2009 high roads are so much better than the newer high roads.
No.
They change every once in a while, especially when the ball's been out for that long. The raw materials are going to change. Yeah. They're going to replace the manufacturing equipment, because they have to do that every once in a while. Storm has built new production lines there, and so things are going to change slightly over the years. But even just getting one ball, and like Kyle and Brad and Kyle have said several times, it's like you can get the same ball from the same batch, and they're going to react differently.
Well, yeah,
he's like no ball ever reacts identical to.
It's just like getting a bad ball like that.
Yeah,
ball you thought you had.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, I threw a 2009, and I threw a couple of years. Was it? I got it 2 years ago, and I thought they were similar.
Yeah, they're not different enough to really make any kind of difference.
No.
And it can depend on what time of the year they were poured. It can depend on where they were at in the lifespan of the surfacing pads, or
True
any number
People
of.
forget, like you said that to me the other day, and it makes sense. With them being in Utah, people,
Yeah.
you know, it's Utah, it's cold, especially in the wintertime, and you can
Yeah,
really
so
tell.
the balls poured in the wintertime generally have a little bit more phasing
Yeah.
and look cooler, I think, than
Oh,
other
I
balls
love
poured in
them.
the summer. So
We ordered a couple. We wanted
a couple of new
some,
phase twos.
Yeah, we wanted some phase twos because he just wanted it when he wants a new one. He wants to have it on the shelf. And we got them. The phasing was just way cool. It's like, let's order some more of those because they're really
And they didn't turn out
Yeah.
the same, did they?
No, we haven't. Well, the other one we ordered, we haven't got it yet, so, but we'll see.
It's
okay.
amazing how that works.
I
So-
love it. It really looks awesome.
Back into bowling from stepping away in 2001, built a new arsenal based on your videos using my Fat Ball Burgundy hammer, which is interesting because
Burgundy.
Jeremy Hirschman because when you fill out the honor score sheet, you have to make and model the ball. He's
Yeah.
like, well, this company doesn't even exist anymore. Put down the Fat Ball
Oh yeah,
3D offset or whatever, which is great.
which was Hammer though, right?
Yeah, which is hammer. Well, it was Fat Ball to begin with, and then the Hammer brand kind of came out of that.
I
The
had a
ball was
3D
called
offset
the
at one
Hammer.
point.
Yeah.
Now I wish I would have shot it. Or left
Average
it.
ball life on new
My bad.
balls, they crack now. Yes, more crack because most of them are 3-piece now, and so they have different densities. They're made of different materials that all swell and shrink at different rates. But there's a lot of they're more prone to cracking now than they used to be. But at the same time, you can do a lot of stuff to prevent that. We have hundreds. I mean, we've gone through hundreds of balls in the last 4 or 5 years, and we've only had 2 or 3 of them crack. So it really depends on drilling and the way that you take care of them. And the best thing to do is if you're not using them, put them back in the bag,
in the box,
in the original box.
Yep.
And put them in more of a climate controlled area. If you just kind of leave them sitting in a bag, the holes in the ball act like stress risers and can give a fracture point for the ball. Or if you don't have the finger holes sanded out enough, or if you have the glue up too far in the cover stock, that can make them crack too. And so they are more prone to cracking, but there's a lot of things that you can do to prevent the cracking.
Correct me if I'm wrong. If you have a ball rack that's wood, and I personally put like the noodles.
Wood can actually, the wood can actually suck moisture out of the ball.
So I put noodles
So-
down on the ball rack so that you can actually sit the bowling balls, and it also keeps them from getting all beat up.
Some will
anyways.
say it doesn't, but it also, if they only say have one shelf and it's only there for a couple weeks, they're not going to notice a difference. But if it's there and it's stored there,
Yes.
and that's probably going to make a
Yeah,
difference. So
'cause
some
I-
people might go, "Oh no, it doesn't matter." It's like,
Because I have a wood rack downstairs, but I put the styrofoam.
Yeah.
The noodle, like a pool noodles is what I put down.
Yeah, we actually put carpet on ours that we have
And
downstairs.
see, that's not a bad idea either, but I haven't had
No,
any
it's
issues with
the-
cracking. So
it's double. I folded it over, but it's the.
Oh, the felt.
my
Okay.
stepdad built that for me. So if you're watching, shout out to you. So thank you.
I was talking with Mikey Tang last night. He said that Rotogrip missed an opportunity to heavily promote the RST, which was interesting because I don't think Rotogrip has used Microtrax, which is NRG hybrid before, or it's Roto's version of NRG. They haven't used that cover before, and they haven't used that core before. And so he said that Rotogrip missed an opportunity to heavily promote the RST, and they kind of did because they got lost in the shuffle because it was released with the Idle Synergy, which everybody was.
Wasn't that like right in the beginning of the pandemic?
No, it was November, December. The RST came out with the Idle Synergy, which everybody was.
So a lot of people were still shut down, though, right?
Yeah, somewhat. There's still some people shut down in California, New York, Oregon, Washington, whatever else.
Bill Pad posted in there that bowling centers are open to 25% capacity now in Oregon, or at least his area.
Now,
25%.
but when these came out in November, end of November, December is when the RST and the Synergy, but it also came out with proton physics too.
Yeah.
So everybody,
Bill Pad in Oregon said they had a 6-person max in the center.
What's the point of opening?
That's what most of them are like. I can't even afford to open. So now they're at 25% at least. So at least you can turn the lights on for that.
At least you can pay the bills.
Yes.
But they've been down for almost a year.
You better hope everybody eats and drinks while you're in there.
But anyway, everybody was really wanting a solid physics, and everybody was really wanting a hybrid idle. And then they have the RST, which is kind of new cover, new core. It's like, okay, whatever. Plus it's like army green or whatever. And
it's gorgeous.
So they didn't really pay much attention to it, but it's probably the best. I mean, I'm partial to the Idle Synergy, but the RST is definitely should not be slept on.
It's
we both have ours.
It's pretty popular from what I understand. There's been some good questions today, Johnny.
All right. Yeah. There's been some great questions, and this is again, it's a tough subject. I'm gonna finish. Go ahead and grab our.
We're almost ready for coffee.
Yeah, I think we're ready for the coffee, and we can kind of
while.
ramble a little bit more and finish this off.
Okay.
We're gonna have a little bit. We're gonna try the coffee. Which one is it? The Boulevard? Is it a Boulevard coffee?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry for the 2 hours and today, but it's a Friday. We don't have anything going on. These two have to go to Wichita this weekend.
Yeah, so we'll pack here in a bit, but then we have league tonight and
a shootout
tonight. And
I have new frosted glasses.
Oh yeah.
oh balls.
Oh,
and they're even the same ones. So
we match. Oh yeah, frosty.
Okay, and this is a steel drop. This is the nitro.
Sorry, you were showing that off.
Nitro cold brew milk stout.
Kind of getting a glare there.
So yeah.
See it? There we go.
Bang. Heckers, yeah.
Okay. This has been a fun chat today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a very in-depth subject, even when you're not really taking it too in-depth. Just to kind of recap, just because a ball is pearl or hybrid or solid may not have anything to do with anything. IQ Tour Solid, for example, heck yeah. IQ Tour Solid, for example, has nothing in common with the proton physics, even though they're both solid covers. Omega Crux and High Road Pearl are nowhere close.
They got different motors in them.
Yeah. And crazy different cover formulas. And the Phase 3 has nothing in common with like the
that's very coffee.
Yeah.
That's pretty dang good. I'm not a big coffee stout guy. That's pretty dang good.
It's kind of like coffee Guinness.
Yeah, it's exactly what I was. Yeah, that's I'll have to bring you the Martin City one that I have.
Yeah.
I'll let you try that one. Coffee stout, because you like stouts?
Yeah, I like
right.
virtually everything. But
yeah.
You know, we've had a good time today. James is probably like
Phase 3 has nothing to do with Electrify
It's
Hybrid.
a Friday afternoon. Everybody's ready for the weekend. This is great.
Exactly, right?
So,
like I said, I just had to be home to pick my kid up off the bus.
Yeah.
Got to give the dome a fresh shave this evening.
Yeah, I've got to at least tidy this and.
Well, you'd say, you got a lot of hair. Here comes James. Where's it at?
I used to do
right.
that, but then I look like I was.
I hated that.
Now it looks better when I have a full beard.
No, it's not.
People would ask me if I was sick or something.
No.
You get one ball and you must throw a strike at the U.S. Open. The U.S. Open shot. What are you throwing?
Pitch black. That's easy.
It's tough.
Yeah.
I'm Venom Shock.
Venom
Shock. So
yeah,
I like virtually everything. Yeah.
Especially with that the special layout on it.
Yeah.
The pin and ring.
Promotion.
Dude, it looks so good with pin and ring.
The promotion is on virtually everything else. It's just the U.S. Open shot. Urethane is urethane. So.
Thank you, James. I was waiting for it, and there it went.
Oh yeah. My glasses have the transition shade capability. They just went full dark when John took his hat off.
And you want to know
even more so than.
And you want to know why I shave it all off is because I don't like at 32 having a horseshoe. So.
Brad Miller.
Yeah. Brad and I mean, we had the same hair. If I was blonde, it would look the same way. So yeah, there you go. Here's some horseshoe. So yeah, it gets the razor treatment.
Yeah.
What's funny is it took me forever to convince Amanda to let me do that.
Really?
Yeah, she just was freaked out, did not want me to shave my head.
Yeah, you had the little stubble thing going on for.
Yeah, and she would not let me do it, and I finally convinced her, and she's like, yeah, let's do that. Now I hate it because I have to do it once a week, and it gets to try to heck in urethane though. You know what?
Yeah.
I just love people that use it properly.
There is a time and a place for it.
There is a time and a place.
And
I am sorry, but the next time we're bowling you, I'm bringing as much urethane as I can.
Bowling me?
Yeah. Durago.
You would, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I think I'm actually moving down to the 3-hole too. So
Ooh, you get me then.
yeah.
Let's go.
So you're gonna shoot 750 and lose again.
I went 750 and lost 3 points, and I've gone 760 and lost 3 points. It's like,
Yeah.
come on. And one was on 1 and 2, and one was on 3 and 4. One was Beach and Jeff Alton. They both got me.
Man, I keep having trouble with the one spot for some reason. Larry took 2 from me, shooting 7 something.
Burton?
Yeah, we both shot 700. I think I actually got series because he beat me the first game, and then I shot like 260 to 190 at him the second game, and then that was on the when Jeremy shot 860.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I left the bucket and missed it for 244 or something. He shot 248, so he got 2 points off me, but I shot 720. He shot like 17 or something, shot 7-0. And then Jim Anderson, I shot 270 to his last week that we bowled a week ago. I shot 270 to his 250, and then I shot like 260 or 240 the next game to his 230 or 220.
Right.
And then finally kind of overtook him the last game, but I was
just happy when we bowled City Team there with Trevor and you and me and Adam and Bruce.
Yeah.
That I pulled a ball out of the bag that hadn't been working there, and it looks great there. So
yeah.
So we're in good shape there.
Yeah.
But I only throw it like 1 game.
Yeah. Okay. And for some of these questions, big difference between the Axiom Pearl and Idle Synergy. The Axiom Pearl has a much stronger cover formula than the Idle Synergy does, and it's different. It's easier to relate within the same line. So storm cover to storm cover, it's a whole lot easier to relate to than going from storm to roto grip cover. But basically, they kind of stagger them a little bit. So reactor that's on the Electrifies is kind of the weakest version of the Coverstocks that they have, because they also use that on the Tropical Surges. And then VTC is kind of from the Hustle line, and the HP2 line to some extent is stronger than Reactor, but then R2S is stronger than VTC, and R2S is on a lot of the high roads and the IQ Tour Solid, stuff like that. And then E-Trax on Idle Synergy, Nuclear Cell, UC2, Idle Pro. That's stronger again than R2S. And then R3S is a step above E-Trax, which you've got R3S on only a 1 on the phase 3
Maybe
right
you
now.
should make your own diagram.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Actually.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of work.
You got Dorego in here now, by the way.
Yeah.
He says, at least you got the bull against someone. Sucks to bull the blind 230. Well,
Yeah.
guess what, buddy? You got a bull 803 next week on
Yeah.
Sunday. So that's all right.
Yeah, I'm bringing urethane.
You got Trevor shot 803 at you, and I did confirm he shot
Yeah.
803 at you. Good luck.
Yeah.
Actually, the whole team's blind. So, and I did find something out about Thursday. You cannot post bowl. There's no post
Oh,
bowl.
so it's pre-bowling or
Pre-bowling only. Because
Okay.
Even if
Danielle
you're
was.
sick?
I think that's the only way it's possible. Is if
Well,
you
I think
got
at
sick.
that point, if you pre-bowl, you kind of know what you have to shoot.
Yeah.
So you wait, and then you know what you have.
Like
to shoot.
Danielle, she's coming in from Vegas, so she was not going to be able to make it for Sunday, but she was going to post bowl. She cannot post bowl.
Okay.
Okay.
It's a no-go. So like Jared and Jaden won't be there either on Sunday because they're at a college tournament. They
Yeah.
can't post bowl, so I get Jared at his average.
Okay. So if it is a planned event, you have to pre-bowl. But if there's extenuating
I
circumstances,
think if you have, due to COVID, if you have COVID or something from the sickness, you get to post bowl. I think. I could be wrong. Jesse would answer that. But
All right. So
unless we
with
get a
all
sub.
of the changes that your league has had to go through trying to do stuff, I can imagine that post bowling is actually pretty difficult for that.
You're exactly right. All right, sorry, we
okay,
didn't jump back.
so
to some
after R3S, then we kind of have NRG, the GI series, R4S are all kind of in there. I think NRG is actually a little bit weaker than like GI20 and R4S. And then you have NEX that's kind of at I guess spec is kind of in that mix too. It's a little bit stronger than NRG and kind of around the GI and other stuff. And then NEX is the strongest cover stock that they currently make.
Any excess?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you should make a diagram. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make him do it.
Boom, there you have it. Better get busy.
Let me see.
He's gonna do it right now. He says, "Here it comes."
I'll write it up here.
And he's currently on the board, so I guess I can get in chat here while you're.
Well, yeah, there you go.
Darren isn't built like most people, though. Yes. Are we talking about Tang? Is that a short joke?
Yeah,
Because
so
he is a shorter
yeah,
guy?
Darren says the best time to use, or the time for urethane is every time you.
Yeah,
bowl.
he always says here.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter.
yeah. Who else is there? Is there Jesper always?
Yeah. Angel has spoken, and so it shall be done.
Bam.
That's what
exactly.
Tim just said. Let's
James.
go.
Oh yes, James. Absolutely.
Yeah, Shim, very nice. Heckin' transition. Yeah. Big difference between the Axiom Pro and Idle Synergy. You want to answer that while you're. Did you already answer that one? Yeah, you did. You did.
Yeah.
No, that was about Darren throwing urethane on everything. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, he does throw every urethane all the time. He would literally show up with 2 bags of urethane and then drill more at a tour stop. That guy is insane. He vlogs now, by the way, kind of similar to Brad and Kyle. I think he's only done like 3 or 4 videos, but he kind of gives you in depth on that. I was watching him on Twitch one time because he's got a Twitch channel, and he was doing his ballroom where he's got all this stuff, and literally he has like 8 bags in his room that are just nothing but urethane. Pitch black, pitch black, pitch black. I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
All right, so you're gonna have to. Chad McLean would be the big cheese on this one, but starting at the top with the weakest. Reactor is probably going to be your weakest of what they use right now. VTC is a rotor-grip cover stock that they use on the Hustles and HP2 line. R2S is a little bit stronger than that. E-Trax is a little bit stronger than R2S. R3S is a step above
Screw it
E-Trax.
this way if you want.
NRG Microtrax. And then we have the TX16, which is on the Phase 2, and SureTrax, which was on the Wild Streak. And Schlemmer said that the SureTrax was basically their version of the Phase 2 cover. GI R4S is kind of a little bit further up than that. And then NEX is the strongest cover stock that they're currently. I forgot Spec.
Uh-oh.
Spec is kind
You can
of.
just leave
I
that
will
one out.
actually put that one right there. I'm going to put Spec in between NRG and TX16 and SureTrax. It probably goes on the other side. It probably goes between TX16, SureTrax, and I've got it. And then, so it probably.
Oh, it's that far down, huh?
So, yeah, Spec is actually really strong. So, Spec is probably between that.
It's
GI
just so
and
stinking
R4S is
smooth.
probably a little
Oh,
bit stronger
okay.
than that.
You went from lowest.
Yeah,
okay.
lowest to highest.
Okay.
So I start at the.
You confused me for a second.
Yeah, and
Well,
then NEX is the strongest. So this is
That's
backwards, by
Proton?
the way, too.
Is that Proton
So.
cover?
Yeah, the Proton cover. See, this is all backwards, so you can't even read it. I don't
It is
think.
backwards. I didn't
Yeah.
even get it. This is NEX.
Yeah. So I can't write backwards. So
Let me
sorry.
take a picture of it. So I'm gonna put it in Discord.
Oh, there you go. Perfect.
No, just give me.
Gimme.
Yeah.
So anyway, understanding and basically the stronger the cover stock formula gets, the more blendy and the less responsive it's going to be. So that's why you get something like a Rubicon that is a really strong ball, but it's also a pretty responsive cover stock. So it's going to be a flippier solid than something like an Axiom will be, even though the Axiom is pretty flippy.
And for some people, it reacts stronger than like a UFO.
Yeah.
Take
And that's
Amanda
the
for
thing,
example.
because it's still got quite a bit of it's still a strong ball, so it's got quite a bit of traction, but the formula also has quite a bit of shape too. So when you will start to see the differences, if you have them both at 2000 grit on a really true soupy pattern, the UFO is actually going to outhook the Rubicon at that point, because that's what it was built for.
Right.
It's like the difference between a driver and a 3-wood or something.
Quite a bit
They're
different.
fairly, I mean, they're close-ish.
Close, but one's gonna be.
But yeah,
Stronger,
one's gonna be stronger. They're both gonna hit the ball pretty far, but
Yeah, we
one's
wanna
gonna
play
be
golf.
stronger. So yeah,
If it wasn't 25 degrees outside.
Yeah. that we're gonna have to make that happen too, because we haven't been out golfing in 3 years, I think.
Please.
So yeah, we might have to make that. a
Amanda
regular.
loves to play, but so yeah, whenever you guys want to play.
Please.
Just-
Yeah.
I
Well,
beg
and-
that you wait till it's a little warmer.
Golf is kind of our respite from bowling, so it's something that I I am about a bogey, or I used to be about a bogey golfer.
Me too, at one point in time.
And so, yeah, I mean, if I can shoot bogey golf, if I can go out and shoot in the 80s, I'm happy.
Well,
Even low 90s.
I can tell you right now, I'm
terribly
not
disappointed.
gonna walk out there next time we play and shoot. In
Oh
the
no, I haven't
around
swung
like
a
a
club in
1-1-10.
forever, but
What's that?
I'm actually around like a 1-1-10, and I don't play hardly.
See, that's probably where I'll be at when we go play. My short game is garbage. At least the last couple of years.
If I aim this way, I hit it this way.
We need to play the
It's
Call Valley
not-
tournament together then.
mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, James, there's an interesting thing. You know, we always talk about when you drill a new phase 2, it's an ASIM phase 2. TX16 utilizes chemical friction, so it's different and a little bit sideways off of mechanical friction. So that's always up for debate, but the phase 2 cover is really, really strong. I don't know if it's necessarily stronger than NRG, but I think that's where it was at on the chart that Chad made. I could be wrong, but
It is pretty strong.
TX16 is pretty crazy, and without having something NRG to compare it to, it's a little
NRG
different.
equals mechanical friction.
Yes.
TX16 chemical friction.
Yes.
What do we have that's in it? Well, I have my.
Nothing that's directly comparable. You have your IQ Tour Nano, but we don't have a TX16 was only used once, and SureTrax was only used once.
You've lost me at this point.
So yeah,
I don't pay attention to the cover.
TX16 is the phase 2 cover, and SureTrax is the Wild Streak cover.
I'm more so I've learned to start studying.
So they might be backwards, but
Yeah.
I used to geek out at this stuff on that side, and now
yeah,
I've still got that. This side of my brain still is like the storm stuff. You like, because just how long I threw it, and I'm quickly learning the other side of stuff, the motor stuff. The motor stuff, they make it pretty simple though. It really is pretty simple.
TX16 and NRG is close enough that I always thought that the phase 2 had a lot of NRG in it. And there's also an interesting designation. So you have some of the X cover stock. So if you have like R2X, which is on the High Road X, or R3X, the X denotes a little bit of nano added to that formula. So
Yeah,
Did you say that like one of the roto ones also isn't one of those? Is it Microtrax or E-Trax or something?
which one
It
does?
has nano or no?
the Microtrax is nano.
Microtrax is nano.
Yeah, Microtrax is nano. The micro denotes the nano.
You've been sitting here beating me up over this. The Jackal Ghost is the coercion cover.
Coercion, yeah.
Or core, I mean.
Oh, okay.
No, cover. I'm sorry.
I
Cover.
can't remember.
Coercion cover. Predator
Yeah.
V2.
MFS or HFS?
Yep.
Okay.
I've been
So at
sitting
least-
here. That's been beating me up because I
Yeah, there
flipped around
are-
earlier.
Yeah.
There is some consistency,
Yeah.
but anyhow, so we're almost out of this stuff, and I'm starting to get hungry, and we've been rambling at you guys for almost 3 hours now. So
YOLO.
we ought to do this more often. This was great.
I actually had a good time.
Yeah.
We sit here,
Forget that coffee nonsense.
table full of beers.
Yeah.
You know
But
what? The
anyway.
morning talks are fun.
Yeah. I mean, I knew that we were going to need something a little bit stronger for the cover stock talk because there's so much that goes into cover stocks, and there's so much misunderstanding about cover stocks and friction responses, and why does my low end ball outhook my high end ball, and what surface should I put this at, or whatever else. And it's just, there's so many different factors that go into it, in addition to, again, the bowler the bowler stats.
Yep.
Because something that's long and flippy for one bowler might be long and lazy for somebody else, and
Yes.
something that's really strong for one person might be perfect for somebody else. So that's again, that's why James and I really can't talk or we have to talk. We know enough about each other's games now and what we like to throw that we can talk each other's games, but we have to put ourselves entirely in the other person's shoes and not really offer any personal experience or information or anything when it comes to that.
What helps you though is you still have a right side brain too. So
I do still have
you still have the righty brain.
Yeah, that helps out quite a bit.
Yeah, it does.
So
that's why when we're bowling doubles together or Swiss trios, I say, hey, what do you see here? Where do I need to move to? So yeah, it makes a difference.
that is kind of nice.
It is kind of nice to have the partner.
And my nationals group is with Chaz Brewer, and so when I have issues, I can still help the righties out.
Yep.
And he still tries to help the righties out, but I have a little bit more.
Well, you got experience over there.
He's got very good eyes, and so he still understands. When
Chaz,
especially the lefties, they see the righty stuff all the time. They know what they can see what they go through. Seeing it and knowing it is a little bit different, but Chaz still has a really good grip on the right side of the lane and was still helping us out.
Yep.
Immensely.
I was gonna say, there's some people that just understand ball motion so much better.
Oh yeah.
And they can help anybody.
Yeah, Chaz just gets it.
Guys,
but he can also help me out a whole bunch on the left side of the lane, and we can also still help the righties out.
Seeing ball motion. If you are smart with ball motion, you can help anybody. Before we forget,
thanks, Nate.
bowlinglabs.com. Head over and get your Heckin' Urethane
Heckin'
t-shirts, your Panda Pack patches. Panda Pack patches, if you purchase those, all proceeds go to where, Luke?
Some of the proceeds.
Or not all proceeds. I'm sorry, I said that wrong.
Some of the proceeds.
Some of the proceeds.
The proceeds.
Not all. Sorry.
Goes to
bad plug.
Portion.
Sorry.
Portion of the proceeds will go to the
Positive Tales.
Positive Tales. Thank you.
Casey.
I can never remember. I was going to say it, but I think it's going to be the wrong one. Positive Tales in Kansas City.
Yeah, Positive Tales KC.
We know we've heard this a lot. The people that join us every week, but the.
But yeah,
it's a good story.
And the Panda Pack patches are pretty sweet. So.
They are pretty cool.
Yep.
So, yep. Luke.bowlinglabs.com.
Actually, if you just go to bowlinglabs.com, you can find yourself there.
Yeah, you can find it because it's got Luke Rosedal collection on the top.
It's got its own little tab thing.
And there it is. There is the link in the chat. So thanks for hanging out with us.
Yep. Then of course we've had more people joining the Patreon here recently, and there's some interesting behind-the-scenes surprises that you may not know about. So, and between now and the first of the month, you can also get a free preview. So if you sign up and pledge to Patreon, you can get into the members-only side of the Discord and see what's going on there. You can also scroll back and see a bunch of the stuff that we have on Patreon that's kind of buried. Patreon sucks because it's kind of like a Facebook feed.
Yeah.
And so you have to scroll back a lot. And so I've tried to stop posting so much so I don't bury the old stuff, but then it kind of seems like I don't post a whole lot. So that's interesting to work out.
And as you've seen, there's also a Discord. Join the Discord and get in the general chat, and you can tag any one of us in chat anytime you want.
And again, as you've seen, we can ramble for 3 hours and kind of barely scratch the surface on Coverstocks and still kind of get you in that general direction. Next week, we'll probably start talking about layouts since we've covered core and Coverstock and surface to some extent. So we'll start talking about layouts and the different things that you can do with that, and then how to kind of put everything together. Then we can start talking about lane play, and we've covered a little bit of that because everything kind of all ties in together. But we'll talk layouts next week, probably out in the in the shop.
And we are 8:30, right? 8:30 next week.
Probably
back to our normal time. Honestly, it doesn't matter. We can do 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Well, he'll schedule it before, so they'll see the paint. So hit the notification bell.
Hit the notification bell.
Like button and notification bell would help me out quite a bit. Or you can hit the dislike button too. I mean, it's all the same. It all registers as interaction on YouTube's thing, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it's likes and dislikes don't really matter, do they?
Yeah.
No, it does not anymore.
No,
I didn't
not
think
anymore.
So. I didn't think so.
It used to matter because
now
it was.
They're just looking for interactions.
Now they're just looking for interaction because people that hit the dislike button are still watching the video and still interacting with it, and so it's still getting more views.
Yeah.
So the more interaction it gets, whether positive or negative, it's still interesting and driving topics and discussions.
Streaming and everything. Yeah, we appreciate all the awesome questions today. They were a lot of fun. Beer was good. Chat was good. Yeah. Have a great weekend.
Food's going to be good here in a minute too. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, y'all. We'll see you later.
Great weekend.
Hackers, yeah.